Hey everyone, welcome to Go Live, Saturday evening talk show where we've got some amazing guests. We can talk about the latest and greatest in gaming. Forgive me if my mic is a little bit quiet. Please, I just got a new mic, so tell me if it's a bit loud or not. Most likely too quiet, so give me a shout about that. But thank you so much for joining us. We have an incredible show for you today. I'm joined by the co-host and co-founder of GameOnDaily, Asa. How are you, sir?
Do you know, I've had a really weird week. On Wednesday, I was streaming live. I was playing Wasteland 3. I was just driving around a little tank, and suddenly my PC just went, and it was gone.
Oh.
So I've had to put that back together today, and it could go at any minute. I've not told Gaz this. This is like live reaction. How does that make you feel, Gaz?
I actually started physically sweating. The anxiety, ladies and gentlemen, when Asa, everything relies on Asa's crazy PC. What is up with your PC? You have some mad PC. Why does this happen to you? Okay.
I just gotta say, Gaz, when he wipes his forehead, he can only do this much. But me, I can use like all 9 fingers.
Oh man. Okay, well hopefully Ace's PC can withstand the brunt of all the stuff that he's doing. I'm sure he's got to get it done. I'm a bit echoey. Why
really?
am I echoey? Apparently. Have I turned the echo? Oh no, that's off. That's off. Okay, okay, I'll keep that in mind as I'll sort that out. Cold is much louder, so maybe Gaz needs to be a bit louder. Okay, that's me. We'll sort it out. But let me just get into the introductions. Well, ladies and gentlemen, speaking of one of my best friends, one of the most prominent Xbox influencers out there, ladies and gentlemen, the man, the one, the only, Colt Eastwood. How you doing, man?
Oh, I thought you were talking about Rand. Like that was totally like that would be Rand's intro. Now, thanks for having me on the show. This is good friends, good times, and it's been good news week. So yeah, thank you.
No, thank you, man. I'm so glad. Anytime you're here, it just makes it better, man. So thank you so much for joining us, man. And the people love you, especially Tony Okami, who has a strange obsession for you. Tony, keep it civil in the chat. You're getting creepy, but we like it. Be yourself. Don't change. Last but certainly not least is a new addition to the show. I was holding off getting Rand on, not because I hate him or anything, but because I wanted him on camera. And I will get him on cam one of these days. But ladies and gentlemen, he is the man with 1 million gamer score from the Xbox 2 podcast, and Rand Al Falafel. How are you doing, sir? Thank you so much for coming on to go live, man.
Yeah, I finally made it. And as King David would say, you bent the knee, Gaz. You bent
I did.
the knee. Because I've asked plenty of times, hey, can I come on Go Live with you and Asa? And every single time, Gaz would just be like, no, you need to be on camera. You know, me and Colt, we have this strict rule where you can't be on NXC and you can't be on my show without being on camera. And I'm like, all right, cool. I guess I'll never be on then. And then Colt bent the knee because I was on XNC last week. And now you're bending the knee. So, yeah, here I am.
That was more like a compromise.
Yeah, it was a compromise. See, Colt's real guest backed out, and it was like, well, I guess I can get Rand.
I
guess I
Rand,
can get Rand.
Rand is the top drawer. Rand is top drawer, man.
So I'm excited to be on here with you guys. Gaz, your mic is low as usual. You need to, get it better. Whoa, what's going on?
Sorry, I had my sound effects up. I'm going to increase my makeup gain. Guys, tell me if it sounds really bad. It should be okay, but I'm learning.
Don't worry about it clipping. I mean, it's great.
I won't worry about clipping. Yeah, so thank you so much. And someone in the chat says, when is Jez coming? Jez was going to make it, but he couldn't last minute. So hopefully we'll have him on soon. And he's on camera now, as far as I'm aware. Rand. So one day we'll.
Are
get
you
on
saying
that.
I'm holding Jez back?
Ooh,
Yes.
Are you saying that? Yes, I am. No, you're not. You're
Nobody
not holding
wants
him
to
back.
see my ugly face, anyways, guys.
Don't say that. People in chat, do you want to see Rand's face? Let us know in the chat.
I mean,
Let
like,
us know.
I'm not as handsome as Asa. You know what I mean? I can't just look pretty on cam. You know, nobody wants to see that.
I want to see.
And
it.
personally, I don't want to see more memes made of me, Gaz.
That's gonna happen. I'm gonna use those 2 pictures till I die. So
Good.
Let me see. Michael Gamachi says yes. Bitmoji says yes. Eternal Umbra says sure. Rimon Ahmed says face. Tony Akami says yes. Alvin says yes. Everyone is saying yes. Mr. Joanna Dark says yes. Face Cam Rand JL. Okay, I'm not going to read all of these. Everyone is saying face Rand on camera. Fat Boy Horror. People want to see you.
I think these are all the people that say yes are the same people that believe Kojima's involved with Abandon.
Oh, shade. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the perfect segment to our first topic, which you might have gleaned from our title in our YouTube video of this stream. I can't talk. Abandoned the Fiasco. It continues. For people that don't know what's happening, this is a weird one. This is a weird one where a lot of PlayStation fans are annoyed, understandably. And this is weird. Let me set the scene for people who don't know. Blue Box Game Studios, supposedly indie studio, we don't know much about them, is working on a title codenamed Abandoned. And this game is rumored to have Hideo Kojima involved. It was supposed to be Silent Hill or something big that even Shuhei Yoshida of Sony fame has been promoting it in a very cryptic way. So everyone's excited. Colin Moriarty is excited and now annoyed. You've had a lot of PlayStation-centric content creators like MBG really going on a limb on this one. And it's kind of fallen flat on the face rather embarrassingly. At the same time, if it's genius viral marketing done well, I don't know. We're going to have to ask the guests. I'm going to ask you guys, gents, what this is. But just to set the scene, big Blue Box Game Studios dropped a patch for their app. For some reason, this game needs to be revealed via an app. And after all the massive hype, when people managed to finally download this faulty app, it was the exact same clip shown in their Twitter feed that they posted a few days ago. That's royally taking the mick. I don't know what that's about. And it's just a guy walking on a plank of wood, or on the floor. All you can see is a wooden floor and some guy with trousers on walking. I'm like,
trousers
or pants. I don't know what you Americans call them. But to me, that shows a lot of, it shows the power of Kojima. Do not underestimate the power of Kojima. The name alone is causing all this massive hype. But it also is starting to look a little bit embarrassing. Why are PlayStation guys really holding out hope for this? And one way or the other, we're going to find out if this is what it's crapped up to be. Colt, have you been following this Abandoned thing? What do you make of it?
I don't know, but when you're setting up this topic, it just seems unreal. It doesn't seem like something that's really happening. That they said they couldn't get this app experience available to the PlayStation 5 the other day, so they had an entire 24 hours or longer for this delay.
Yeah.
And then they finally unleashed it. It's the same thing that's been cycling on their Twitter account. It makes absolutely no sense. They didn't even say, hey, sorry, the thing we promised isn't ready, but here's that 5-second clip on the PS5. Is that really what happened?
Yeah. I mean, on their app. That's all that happened. And people are still thirsty for the news. A lot of people missed. A lot of people were angry, and understandably so. I thought it was a joke. When I didn't actually download the app, so my mates were following it, and they were posting updates, and they were like, mate, it's the same thing. I'm like, you're taking the mic. You're taking the mic. But that's what it was. That's all it is. And that's all we were left up with, and I don't know what's happening with that. So it's a bit crazy. Rand, are we supposed to get an update on this? I haven't followed it that closely, because right now it's a bit of a joke. I don't want to,
It's been a joke the entire time. There's this
Yeah?
a segment of people out there that want it to be something that it most likely isn't, right? And the reason it gets a lot of attention is because it's an exclusive. Like all exclusives for every platform always get a little bit more marketing push. Fans kind of stand behind it a little bit more than say Multiplats, right? And because this game and the way that I believe the guy's name is Hassan, who runs Blue Box Studios, has been marketing it on Twitter first with like saying the first name of the first letter of the title is S, and the first letter of the second word is L, and ends with L. So a lot of people thought it was Silent Hill, and all these like Kojima connections that people are piecing together. Like people are sitting there with like, getting their conspiracy theories on, right? Like trying to draw all the connections to everything. So they're thinking, oh my God, this isn't an indie game by some developer who really hasn't released a good product in forever. Blue Box Studios, I'm sure you've seen that little like infoglyph where it's like, man, they may be like kind of a scam, right? So people are thinking like it's a big troll, like Kojima did with Metal Gear Solid 5 when he hired that, the actor with like the bandages on his face, right? So it would be a big surprise or whatever. And they keep on going down there because they want to believe that it's not going to be a terrible indie game. They want to believe that at the end, Kojima will come out and be like, did you like it? Like how he used to do. And you get some masterpiece by Kojima, right? That and then PlayStation guys can be like, "We got Kojima, it's exclusive. Suck on it, Xbox." I think also a lot of it has to do with Jeff Grubb's reporting on how Kojima's next game is reportedly in the works with Xbox. That they're working together, and I think a lot of PlayStation fans don't want to believe that. Don't want to believe Jeff Grubb. So they would love to throw that into Jeff Grubb's face if somehow this was a Kojima collaboration and be like, see, you're wrong, Jeff. He's not working with Xbox. He would never work with Xbox. He's with PlayStation. But, this sort of thing can only... It can only last so long before the truth inevitably comes out, right?
It's going to come out. One way or the other.
One way or the other, it's going to come out. But the thing here... it's interesting to me is that even presented with, I'm not going to say the truth because I don't know what Abandon is. If you ask Cole, because we talked about Abandon months and months ago in his first reveal, I told Cole, I'm like, I think this is just going to be a crappy indie game. I don't think it's any involvement with Kojima, right? But a lot of people want to believe, and even presented with a lot of the information and this whole debacle with their app or whatever, right? There are still some people that truly believe, and I finally understand how there are people out there that believe in the flat Earth without, despite all the evidence to the contrary, or believe, that, COVID-19 is a made-up virus and doesn't actually exist. Like, this is gaming's equivalent to that. You know what I mean? So it's just a bunch of people that want it to be true because they want a big exclusive and they want it to be Kojima, and they see this crappy little indie game and it's like, oh, it's just a cover for Kojima's greatness. And now that information is being blown apart, a lot of them are like holding on to it like, no, this is real. I don't know.
I think it's really possible that this Blue Box Studio could be capitalizing on the Silent Hill and Kojima feel, and they want to like emulate that excitement, and they want to build maybe this team wants to build a Silent Hill type game and get Silent Hill fans rallied around and supporting their game. But the way they're doing that, if that's true, has not been very nice at all, and it's really ticked off a lot of people. So I can really see this being, I don't even know how big the studio is, but maybe it's not a crappy little indie game. Maybe it's a team that's really inspired to make something great that captures what Silent Hill did back in the day. But the way they're going about it is just super awful, in my opinion.
Yeah, so, I mean...
This is a guy who tweeted out a picture of Abandon, and then behind it was what people thought was Solid as Snake in his eye patch. Like they thought it was Metal Gear, and you can make a point like, okay, if this really is a small indie game, right, which it looks like, then the dude is a marketing genius because he's gotten more hype and more eyes on what potentially is his product than essentially any other indie game in some time. Even though you're playing with fire, because if you're promising Metal Gear Solid, you're promising Silent Hills, or you're promising Kojima, and you end up not delivering on that, you're going to get a lot of hate, and you're going to piss off a lot of people. But maybe in the end, that's worth it, because you have a lot of eyes on your product, and some people might actually buy it who normally wouldn't. So I am interested in seeing how this all plays out. If what I think is true and has nothing to do with Kojima or any of this stuff, I would love to see all these people and their reactions to seeing the final product and realizing that they've been taken for a ride the past, 6 months or whatever, right?
Yeah, they say there's no such thing as bad publicity, and I'm a bit torn. Will that actually result in a negative feedback if it isn't what that is? JL with the $5 super chat, thank you so much. He says, has Kojima publicly denied these reports? No. Is he playing into it? Arguably, Asa, if he hasn't
Cole
said
posted in the
anything.
chat, Blue Box themselves denied Kojima was involved.
So
yeah, I couldn't post the whole quote because of the character limit, but I want to go back there. Like when Rand and I were saying a crappy indie game, like we don't mean like indie games are crappy. Like we don't know anything about this studio, and we don't know how great this could be. And like I'm kind of erring on the side of the benefit of the doubt that smaller teams can make incredible games. We see it every single year, so I don't know about that, but. This pains me to say this, Rand and I can relate, because we're kind of in that sphere where when you make content that you want to get out to your audience, sometimes you want to draw them in a little bit. And I don't want to get into like the whole topic of clickbait, but when Rand explained that image with Solid Snake looking character with Big Boss in the background, like that type of thing, that is literally a visual clickbait to try and get those fans rallied around something that they would assume is a Kojima game.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I was getting at.
Guys, what they tweeted on June 15th, because I have the tweet here. They go, we wanted to set things straight. We have no relations with Konami. Silent Hill is owned by Konami. We do not have any relations with Hideo Kojima. It was never our intention to tease the name as Silent Hill. We sincerely apologize for this. So, some people are like, okay, well, there you have it. But then some people be like, it's part of the whole grift. It's part of they're just saying that, and then Kojima's going to come out at the end, and it's going to be a big surprise. But no, Kojima himself hasn't said anything. Also, a lot of this is driven by Sony themselves, because Shuhei Yoshida's tweeted it. I saw Sean Layden say something about it today. He called it, what did he call it? Oh, it's silly season or something like that.
He did, huh?
Oh, really?
Yeah, like this is like the first game to have some sort of app for it outside of no other big game on play. So a lot of people, when they talk about their conspiracy, they think that like Sony has to know what this game is, right?
Because they allowed it. Yeah, they're allowing
this game to have this app and all these different things, and because of Sony letting it happen, that it has to be something bigger than just an indie game. Like it has to be something special. Kojima has to be involved, right? And so not only do you have, so it's like you have what he's teasing on Twitter, but then you have Sony basically being quiet and allowing this to go on. Some people are saying that like, oh, this is just dragging PlayStation's name in the mud, which I don't really believe that. I mean, like, it's a third-party game. You let people do what you want to do. But so there is some of that. Like, why would Sony let these guys do this? And that kind of feeds into the whole thing. Like I said, it's marketing genius, because you look at these tweets from this indie game, and they're reaching 5,000 retweets and 100,000 likes, and everybody seems to know what Abandon is. I mean, you have people streaming the reveal of this 5-second clip, right? So it's a marketing win. It's just, I don't know if it's going to end the way these people want it to, right? So I don't know. It's one of those things where it's very interesting. But Asa,
what's your take on that?
I was just going to say, I think
Rand paints a dark picture.
I think a marketing win is probably best case scenario here. I think more likely, possibly worst case scenario is, I mean, really optimistically, they're just incompetent, right? And they're messing everything up.
Yeah.
Giving them the benefit of the doubt, they're being really manipulative. Taking away that benefit of the doubt, they exist to string along their investors, and there is no game. I think there's a very real possibility that if you look at the rap sheet that's being going around there. Well, they can string people. Like, if you're a good con man, then you can go into Sony and say, "Look at my game, look at my app." And Stefan asked in the chat what it means by real time, or like whatever it is that they termed this app. You've probably heard of like in-engine trailers and things where they say, "Look, it's running on a PlayStation 5." This is just it's supposed to be the next step up where they say, "Look, this is running on your PlayStation 5. It's real." And okay, they did run a few seconds of someone walking. I've got no idea if that just played a trailer or if it actually ran on a PlayStation 5. You'd probably have to listen to the fan noise. I'd run it a few times to figure that one out. But there's a rap sheet, and I've not looked into it myself. I've not dug into each of these previous games of all of these years, but their Kickstarter that they put up and pulled away, their Steam game that they sold for early access and then took off, and all of these things, and you just get the impression that maybe there's no product. Maybe they've got investors that have given them some money.
What do you mean no product? Like, you mean they haven't started yet? It could be a whiteboard concept with like a little render, I guess.
Yeah, and so Dustin was saying on here, and I think he said on your show as well, actually, that the trailer that they put up the first time was just Unreal Engine asset flips. Like, it was a very hastily put together, kind of convincing, but kind of not much work has gone into it kind of trailer. So, I don't know, because, when it comes to rumors and speculation, I generally don't follow it or care that much. But the more I see this going on, and you can't avoid the Twitter noise, I don't know, it doesn't look like it's going to lead to anything good.
But then, you know what's crazy to me about this whole thing is David Scott Jaffe, the father behind Twisted Metal Black and God of War, has tweeted he thinks it's Kojima. He goes, "Another way this is Kojima. A small indie dev would not do this sort of bait and switch. Kojima will be forgiven for it, but what the app just showed, man, a small dev would never take such a trolley risk. Kojima involved 90% sure." And David Jaffe's got people in the industry, man.
But even still, he's not 100% sure. And when you look at the history of what Blue Box has done, this is exactly something they would do.
Yeah.
What is their history, Rand?
Promising a game, then not releasing it, releasing a game on Steam with stolen assets, promising patches that don't deliver. They promise a lot of things, and they never. It falls in line with their whole like studio history. And honestly, if this is Kojima, like, when you look at what, like, the first time the trailer showed for this game, like way back when, right? And people were saying, "Oh, abandons the Kojima thing," and then Jeff Grubb's like, "Well, it's not, because I know Kojima's negotiating with Xbox." I was just like, "Yeah, Kojima would never make something like that. It looks bad." Like, and this whole marketing strategy that they're going is so lowbrow. Even like Kojima, like, I don't know, like, I like Kojima, I like his games. I think like this type of marketing strategy or this type of troll that they're putting on is so beneath Kojima that he wouldn't be involved with it. So but that's the thing, guys. People want to believe it is Kojima, that all this stuff is worth it at the end. That waiting with bated breath for a 5-second teaser of a dude walking across the floor, is perfectly acceptable because it's the next Kojima game. They don't want to believe that they've been had, which is kind of what David Jaffe's tweet is all about, right?
Exactly.
Like, his tweet's basically like, it has to be Kojima because nobody else could get away with it and he would be forgiven, and no indie dev would do this. Really? No indie dev would do this? I don't know about that, David. I think this one would.
I'm on the fence. I'm doing an Acer. I'm sitting on the fence. You're gonna hate me for that. Acer's looking at me angrily like, "Dude, piece of..." No, I just don't know anymore, because it's bewildering to me that, one, even if you're an indie studio, why would you go out and be so deceptive? Two, why would Sony get involved? Would you manage to fool Sony? It's very uncharacteristic of Sony to promote things like this. And then David Jaffe knows people, man. It's just like, it's weird. It's conspiracy stuff, but I like it. I like it. It adds sauce to my wounds. That makes no sense. Mr. Joanna Dog, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. This is good afternoon, gents. Want to say it's always a pleasure to have all this talent under one roof. Also, Abandon is the Jez Tomato game. Sauce! Thank you so much, Joanna Dog. Thank you always for your support, man. I want to say this, though. Like, Cole, this fiasco, hasn't this shown just how powerful Kojima is? If Kojima and Xbox is happening, if anyone tries to downplay that, and I'm talking like PlayStation side or whoever, you're just gonna look like a fool. Because I was watching someone's live stream, or I don't know who it was.
Yeah.
It might be MBG, and he was like, the app. It was the Fallout was hilarious. Sorry MBG, but it was funny. But it's like there was so much hype for this. If Xbox,
Yeah, he knows.
Kojima
Like
happens,
he's been really excited about Blue Box, and kind of had MBG's had to deal with, the disappointment of things not going and are being
His
delayed.
latest gen.
So like, yeah, he's been streaming about it, so he knows that it's been difficult to deal with his followers. So yeah, it's not a fun thing, but I tend to. Rand probably agrees that we tend to trust a lot of things that Jeff Grubb says because he has a really great track record. And if he is saying that Microsoft or Xbox is working with Kojima on something, when that announcement comes, or if that announcement comes that Kojima is partnering to make something exclusive to the Xbox platform, that will be such a huge fallout for people who were excited about Kojima making the next Silent Hill or PT for the PlayStation, and he turns around and makes some other game. Maybe he makes PT or Silent Hill for Xbox. I have no idea. Or they work with Konami on it. I have no idea. But whatever it is, it will not go over lightly when Kojima has worked with Xbox, if that ends up happening. But I also have to say, a lot of people don't realize that half of Kojima's games are playable on an Xbox console. So he's not a PlayStation-owned, exclusive girlfriend for the gaming PlayStation. He's worked with Nintendo. He's worked with a lot of platforms, but he's worked a lot with PlayStation. But things change.
Things will change, and like Rand said, one way or the other we'll find out whether this is an L or not. It's going to be a huge L. Someone's going to get the L. Is either the Xbox guys who are mocking this thing, or it's going to be the PlayStation guys who are hyping it and then deriding the Xbox Kojima thing. But I think you'd be pushing
All right,
it.
well then, I want your prediction right now, Asa. Give me your prediction. Is this is Kojima involved and it's the Metal Gear Silent Hill thing, or is it just an indie game at the end of the day?
Kojima is not involved, and it is not an indie game.
It's not an indie game?
Nope, not going to happen. It's no game. That's my prediction.
It's no game.
Whoa!
Okay. Interesting. This is not a game. All right, Gaz, what do you think? Kojima involved? Indie game? No game?
You know what I think? I think that's what I think.
That's not fair. You got to put your prediction out there.
Do an auto tune that someone's going to take a huge
Don't
L.
encourage him.
I think it's gonna be a big pie to the face in the PlayStation Nation. You asked for that. You asked for that. Don't even complain.
I already regret it, but it was great.
It's gonna be a fat L.
Look how much Asa is blushing right now, chat. Look at Asa.
That might be the
blushing.
wine. He's drinking the wine. Are you drinking wine?
Asa regrets being the co-founder of GameOnDaily right about now.
That's awesome.
But Cole,
I don't know, chat. Do you want us to keep talking about Abandon? I don't know. I just
Cole
think
doesn't want to put a prediction out there. I see how it is.
Do you want to ask me a prediction?
Yes.
I don't.
do you have the balls?
I don't think that Abandon is an indie game. I think it's going to be bigger than an indie, and it's not Kojima, and it's not Konami. Obviously, because they said that. I think it's a real game, and I think it's probably going to come out in a long time. That's my prediction. That it's one of those things that will just take a long time to come out because apparently this studio is having their own problems. So that's my prediction.
Interesting.
So,
And I'll take my L or whatever.
Randall Thor, what do you think?
I want to agree with Asa about being a no game, but I do think there is a game. I think it's a small game that they're using all this for marketing hype. Who knows if it'll ever come out? But I do think a game exists. But yeah, Kojima's not involved. It's not Silent Hill. It's not Metal Gear. There is some game involved. But it would be funny if there was no game, though. I kind of want Ace's prediction to come true. That'd be hilarious.
Can you imagine? Well, then the abandoned name will be the most unfortunate yet fitting name for this title. That is possibly not a title in the works. Gaming industry, ladies and gentlemen, is crazy. But it also, to me, speaks to the desperation of what's happening in terms of I keep using the word optics so much, it's annoying me, but I can't think of a suitably different name. But it really is that, because PlayStation guys, multi-platform gamers here, by the way, but in terms of, the community and content creators and stuff, the PlayStation guys are desperate for it. MBG, welcome to join our show, MBG. And you come on camera, that's good. Just want to get your take on that, because it looks like there's desperation. There's desperation for good news on the PlayStation side. You've got God of War, you've got GT, Gran Turismo 7, you've got Horizon, but then, like Colin Moriarty said, what after that? What's happening after that? Then you don't know. So there's desperation. There's desperation for something new and fresh, and it will come. PlayStation is always going to kill it, but right now people are dying for some good news. But let's see. Pink Witch, thank you so much for the £4.49 super chat. He goes, Rand, are you saying that the Earth is not flat? Are you crazy? Well, sorry to tell you this, Panquit. Never mind. You'll discover it. Who knows? I'm not gonna judge.
I was playing Flight Sim. It looks pretty flat to me. It changed my mind.
Oh man. R&D, thank you so much for the $2 Canadian. He says, Xcast, Chatter Days, GameOnDaily, Xbox community is fire. Yes, it is. It is. It's the Xbox. We're multi-platform, but I principally am an Xbox fan, unashamedly, even though I primarily game on PC. But the Xbox community is different. It is just this thing. PlayStation guys, do something. We've had PlayStation people on here. We've had Quest Mode. We've had Colin Moriarty. We've had Dustin Furman. Shout out to him. And we've had Mr. Badbit. And those are great, but there's no real cogent, discernible community. And that's the problem that PlayStation needs to rectify. Maybe we can be the glue. Dan Lazaro, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. He goes, Blue Box doesn't have a blue check mark for a reason. Ooh, maybe. Yeah, we'll find out. Guerrero Family Vlog, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. He goes, someone should check out the history of Blue Box game teasing since 2012. None of the games came out. And I think that, Asa, you were alluding to, is the most glaring thing, isn't it? That lends credence to the fact that this does not exist.
There was but one of them,
yep.
They took it off of Steam Early Access and said, actually, we're giving it to this other studio, and the studio that they apparently gave it to didn't exist. And you look at this kind of stuff, it's like,
someone says you have to be doing a sketch on this abandoned stuff. Sorry guys, the source stuff is getting delayed, but we're just pushing the levels up, quality up for the next one, and we're going to push out more content. But oh man, definitely coming. Finally, let's talk about some games. And this is a game that I've been hopping on for quite some time. Unfortunately, for some weird reason, Hades never came out on PlayStation and Xbox up until now. And I was a surprise hit for me of last year. It was my game of the year, I'm pretty sure. Yes, it was. But Xbox guys have been finally, and PlayStation guys have been sampling Hades, which Hades was on Game Pass, which is crazy to me. I just want to get your impressions, gents. And chat, tell me if you've played Hades. Colt, have you played Hades? Did you like it?
It's free. It's free on Game Pass now. Yeah, I've been playing it the past 2 nights, and I really need to get better at it. So, yeah, I'll go look at Aces right on the spot with the gameplay. Very smooth, very responsive, very colorful, great feedback. We were playing Death's Door, but this game is punchier, faster, and more enemies on the screen, and yeah, it's really great. But Rand had the ultimate privilege on Hades.
The ultimate privilege? What is that?
The ultimate.
What's the ultimate privilege?
Well, Rand got the game early for review.
Yeah,
Speak, my friend.
I was really. One of the biggest announcements for me at the Xbox E3 show was Hades finally coming to the platform. Where I really wanted to play it. I knew it was coming to Xbox. It was only a matter of time. So when it finally showed up there, I was like, hell yeah, right? Like, oh, and it's coming in August? That's really soon. And, I'm not the biggest fan of roguelikes, even though I really enjoyed Returnal. I wouldn't necessarily consider that really a roguelike outside of like dying and starting over. Like when you actually compare it to Hades, it's actually a bad roguelike. And I'm not saying Returnal is a bad game. Returnal is a great game in my opinion. It's just I think it's a bad roguelike. And then you play Hades, and I said it on my podcast Xbox 2. I said it on Defining Duke with Lord Cognito and Mr. Matty Plays.
Shout out to Cog.
I said that Hades was one of those games where I was kind of upset last year because I wanted Ori and the Will of the Wisps to win Indie Game of the Year, and I wanted Ori to be nominated for Game of the Year. And you know how like the Keyleys always work. It's always like one indie game gets nominated. And I love Ori. I think it's a masterpiece. One of the few 10 out of 10 games. And it was like, what is this Hades taking its spot, right?
Yeah.
God damn you, Hades, right? So I'm like, is this game really that good? It's got like 90 Metacritic plus. Everybody seems to love it. And I'm just like, is it really that good? So here we are. I emailed it for an early code. And yeah, man, the hype is real. All the praise I completely understand, and it's warranted from last year. Like, I get why it won Indie Game of the Year. It's an incredible game. It's a really good roguelike, and it's one of those. It's very addictive. I find myself like doing one run and then doing another run right after it, and then doing another run, and it's like it has all these features that really work for me. Like as you're going through battling to escape, hell, right? You get help from the other Olympians, right? So I'm a huge fan of Greek mythology, right? So it's like you got Zeus, you got Aphrodite, you got Dionysus, you got the entire Greek mythology pantheon helping you out, and you're always getting stronger, Every single time you go, you're never really getting any negative stats. And even when you do get something negative, it's only for a couple of rooms, and then you'll get like a positive attribute because of it. So it's like you really feel like, okay, I'm progressing, getting stronger, getting closer to be a god, right? So, but then like it has the story underneath it all, like what's going on. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but like there's a reason you're trying to escape, and all these characters have all these conversations. So like you do a run and you die, you come back and you talk to people, and the story keeps on progressing. So it makes you want to like try to keep on escaping. And then as you're doing all these things, you're getting like darkness, you're getting like darkness, which you use in the mirror. You're getting gems. So like you're making your character permanently stronger, right? You can get extra lives, all these different things. So there really is no such thing as a wasted run, because you're either progressing the story or you're making your character better. And then on top of it, you can actually quit the game and then come back and play where you had left off. So I don't know. I think the game looks great. The art style really shines in 4K, runs at 60 frames, flawless. It's just a lot of fun. It has different weapons you can choose from. So if you want to do a sword run, which plays differently than the bow and arrow, which is differently than the spear, right? And then after you do escape, you can make the game harder to get more rewards and stuff. It's really a supremely crafted video game that everybody should check out, whether you're on the Nintendo Switch, the PC, or now on the PlayStation, Xbox, on Xbox Game Pass. Everybody should check it out, even if you're not a fan of roguelikes, because this is the one. I think this is the one that could turn people into fans of the genre, because I think it's the most accessible and it's the coolest one.
Yeah. So now that you've played that, and that's a very glowing review right there. Would you say who would you think, knowing that what you know now, Hades versus Ori, Will of the Wisps, now last year, a Game of the Year, which one deserves it more?
Oh, still Ori.
Still Ori. Ooh,
yeah, still Ori.
So,
Ori has the feelings, the emotion, and the color, and the... oh man,
they're two totally different games, but I still love Ori. I'm not saying, Hades is right there too, but it's just I would pick Ori. I don't know, I just got a soft spot for that game. I'm sorry, I don't know what to say. I just love Ori.
It's those two good games going head to head. Asa, as Rand was talking about that and explaining why Hades is such a good roguelike game, I kept thinking about what you were saying in your, not review, but preview, or your impressions of Returnal. And this comparison you drew about it not being a great roguelike game. You said it's not. And you kept saying.
I said
Play-
quite
play
specifically
Hades.
on that video and also on this show, like, I really wish that Housemarque would just take a little look over at what Supergiant had done with Hades and figure out that kind of the pacing and reward system. Get that loop right.
Yeah.
Which they didn't, and whether you like Returnal or not, Hades handles that side of it better. Hades is just like Brand was saying, I don't want to give too much away about how it unfolds as you play through, because that's a big part of how it grabs you. When you go in at first and you're playing it and you don't really know what to expect, and then every time you die, the things that shift around and change and get added on, and the layers and the new mechanics and the new systems, that it just delivers at a perfect pace. So every run through Hades, you just go, oh, I'm going to go again. I'm going to go again. And it feels great, and I'm amazing at it. So,
Speaking of amazing,
you were impressed that I beat it the first time in like 12.
Impressed that you
13.
tied with me.
Oh,
you did 12 as well.
Oh, Asa flexing.
Oh, you think you did 12?
Flexing.
I did 13, but Rand said on his show that he did 13 as well. So at that point,
wow. You guys are putting us to shame. Returnal, when Rand, you put that there, I couldn't believe it.
Well, yeah, you were super impressed, that I beat Returnal as quick as I did. Like all these, remember I would point, like I beat this boss first try, no problem. Gaz is like, how you do this?
I beat him first try only because I was spurred on by you. I was like, this piece of I cannot let him beat the first boss without, I was about to die. Normally I would have given up, but then it was just Rand, just like a tomato in my vision. It's like, just laughing at me. And I beat that boss with a slither. I was motivated by you. Second boss, I think I died. And that's where I was like, okay, I give it up. Rand is a better person than me. Better human being, better gamer, better everything. And then by the time I finished that second boss, you'd completed the game, which is crazy to me. But Rand, when you were talking about that, you know what made me realize just how... I don't draw comparisons. I actually think Returnal is a bit of a classic for me because I really like the setting. I love the music. I love
the setting's amazing. The sci-fi setting, the time loop stuff they got going on there. I love it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. To me, but I can see why people can't like it. But when compared to Hades does so many things right that Returnal does wrong. It doesn't give you negative stats that linger on. It doesn't make you feel like you've wasted a run. You're actually motivated to play the next thing. The voice acting and the characters, which none of you guys mentioned, that, to me, was the standout of that. Like, normally I don't play like isometric things. I'm just like a super ultra FPS nerd, right? I like playing multiplayer competitive games. I thought, let me try, what's this hype? And I, like Fat Boy Horror in the chat, he says, thank you so much for the super chat, by the £5 super chat. He says, Hades is fire. Finished work at 5 yesterday and played until 2 a.m. I hated every roguelike I played so far except for this. And you know what? I'm there with you. When I first played it, I played for 10 hours straight. That's not happened to me because I had to go then work the next day and I didn't sleep. And it's that addictive hook, the weapons. Every weapon there, it's just going to grab it. It's so different, so wild.
But I'm going to interrupt you really briefly, actually, because I know there's some fans of Death's Door here, and I found Death's Door quite difficult. Not difficult in terms of challenge, but difficult in terms of fun, because the combat control is pretty much mapped exactly the same as Hades, and it just doesn't have the same tactile feel and the same responsiveness. It's not a bad game by any stretch. I get why people love Death's Door, but I'm wondering if, having then played Hades, if that tarnishes Death's Door at all for anyone here.
No, it does not tarnish Death's Door. I love Death's Door. But, I mean, like, the combat in Death's Door, is pretty basic. You are right about that. But in comparison to Hades, like, all the different weapons and how they operate. But, no, it doesn't lessen Death's Door in my mind. One of the other things about Hades I like is, Asa, you know this. It's like a run is short. Run is like 40 minutes. Like, it's not a huge time sink. Where like you spend a whole bunch of time and you're like, oh man, I wasted my time. It's like, man, not really, because you could beat it in 40 minutes, or you go back and you got some keys to unlock some stuff or some darkness to make your character stronger. I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's any wasted time in the game at whatsoever. And the way the story is, and they kind of it's so cool how they set up the story and like how they want you to continue on, being that it's a roguelike. You know, the first time you escape, and like the first time you escape, I was like, this is awesome. And then it was like, oh, well, that's a pretty good spin on why they, you know, you kind of have to keep on doing it, right? Yeah, I wonder how many people are going to actually play this on Game Pass.
A lot.
You know, there's another thing I brought up.
Yeah.
So I want to bring up Hades comes out, right? Game Pass on day one. But then a few days ago, Curse of the Dead Gods hit Game Pass, which is also a roguelike.
Very
which
similar.
came out- Very similar. Is that odd? Like for any of you, like when you look at like the games that like Xbox Game Pass is putting out, it's like they put out 2 roguelikes, basically very similar games within the span of 5 days of one another. Is that just poor timing, or is it like, hey, we know Hades is coming, so maybe someone plays that and really enjoys it, and now they play Curse of the Dead Gods or whatever.
Well,
type of thing?
that goes into my question I was going to ask you when you were talking about how you can beat the run in 40 minutes. How long do you think it took you to beat the game overall?
Well, technically, and Asa, you probably know this, you don't actually beat, you don't get credits roll until you beat Hades for the 10th time. You escape for the 10th time.
Really? I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Well, I mean, you're done with the game. How much time did you put into it?
You're not done with the game because the story continues. Once you escape for the first time, the story keeps on continuing, and there's more to uncover.
Well, oh my gosh, Rand, are you done with the game?
No.
Did you finish it?
No, because I escaped another 2 times last night. I've escaped 3 times now, and it's still continuing. So you don't actually...
So what I was...
Don't ask too many
What I was
questions.
getting at
You don't
is...
get the credit roll until the 10th time. The game's not over.
So what I'm getting at is, like, how long is it going to take you to finish Hades? Because if they bring in people who get excited about Hades and they're done, and then they move on to this other game that's just like it. Like, it is probably a very good plan for Game Pass to have similar games that... I just love that game, and I'm going to go play this one because it's a lot like it, and I'm already done with Hades. Also, they put out that Blood Fist? Is that what it's called? Which is not a roguelike, but it's kind of like, you know, it's like Death's Door. They put out Death's Door. I can't remember what the name of the game is. Blood Fist.
That's something.
Is that like one hit game that Fonz was really liking?
Yeah. And I was playing it, and they're not exactly the same, but they're... What's it called? Blood Roots. Blood Roots. I keep calling it like Blood Pack, Blood Beef. But anyway, like there's... Game Pass put out like 4 or 5 games that are really similar, or at least 4 of them. Well, 5 if you call the Ascent, which they put out these isometric, challenging games. And it's like, that's kind of weird. It's like, wouldn't you be saturating the genre? But I guess there must be some kind of reasoning behind that, Rand, wouldn't you think, where you get people playing something and then they'll stay subscribed to Game Pass because they're going to go play that one and that one. That's like their type of game. Maybe they want groups of games that people like. That are similar.
What if you're like the devs behind Curse of the Gods or one of these small titles? If I was them, I'd be like, how are you releasing Hades right next to us, man?
Blood Chimichanga.
Blood Chimichanga. They're all different. Your Pons is right. They're all different in their own right. It's just that if I was a dev there, I'm going to get eclipsed by these other games. It's a good question, Rand. It's a good question. I don't know. I don't understand the logic behind it. Maybe you're right, Colt. Maybe someone plays Hades, really likes it, is now into roguelikes, is now open to experiencing more.
And now they know they have like this group of games in Game Pass that are going to keep them moving on it. I'm sure that Sarah Bond's team they do research on this. You know, Rand and I always talk about games with gold. Like there's a lot of times where they release a games with gold title that leads up to a sequel that's coming out in the fall, or an announcement coming down the road that a game's coming out. Right, Rand? Do you remember these examples we've seen? There must be some kind of method behind that, right?
Who knows? I mean, you would assume so.
Yeah.
And some of this may just be like, hey, deals are in place, and they didn't, like, oh, Curse of the Gods is coming in August, and then it just so happens that's when Hades is releasing, and something like The Ascent. Remember, The Ascent was originally debuted in May of 2020. I would imagine at that time they probably thought Ascent would be coming out way earlier than when it did. COVID and the pandemics. So it's like it all kind of ended up the way it ended up. But I would like to see we had a bunch of people play Hades, and because of that, they became fans of the genre. So they tried out Curse of the Dead Gods, or they tried something else out. It was just something I noticed because I'm like, dude, you're talking about two very similar games releasing super close to one another. I thought that was interesting.
One thing that we do know for sure is the games that make it into Game Pass, it's very heavily curated. And they put a massive effort into not oversaturating a particular genre or anything like that. So,
like looking at the whole library as a whole on offer, Asa?
Exactly, yeah, they do. They look at the whole library. They won't put 10 FPSs out on the same day or something like that. They curate it very heavily, so they're very aware of
what I'm really worried about is Supergiant has this hit game. It won Game of the Year. I'm really worried that they'll be able to get paid because they're on Game Pass. That's my big concern. I see the chat kind of vetting this out and working their way around it, but oh my gosh, are you showing some old DOS based roguelite on screen?
Somebody asked, what is a roguelike game? This is Rogue.
Yeah, the original.
Genre.
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's just funny that people are, I support the developers by buying the game at full price. And it's so do lots of other people. But, Supergiant got a bunch of money to go into Game Pass, and they happily agreed to it. I think it's funny because people assume that when something like Hades goes to Game Pass, that Xbox says, hey, can we put your game in here? Because it would really be nice for our service, and people would like that. Can we get permission to dump it in there? And they're like, yeah, that's not how it works.
Dude, I bet you they got a massive check because you're talking about one of the biggest games of last year. You're talking about Indie Game of the Year, nominated for Game of the Year at the Keeleys, winner of Game of the Year at plenty of other publications, winner of a whole bunch of BAFTAs. I would imagine the check that they got from Microsoft, because the game probably would have sold really well regardless. Yeah. I'm sure the Supergiant's you want the game on Game Pass? This is how much it's going to cost. And they'll happily bring it, to the service. This is really cool because Supergiant is finally back on Xbox because they started on Xbox. They released Bastion all the way back on the 360 and the arcade games. And then there was, if you recall, a lot of those indie devs really had a problem with Microsoft back then. They left and they started working exclusively with PlayStation. They released Transistor. They released Pyre on the PlayStation, never coming to Xbox, and then Hades released on Switch and PC, and now they're finally back. So I think maybe a lot of the issues that Supergiant, and I remember Phil Fish was pissed off. I remember the makers of Super Meat Boy were really pissed off. A lot of people were pissed off with how Xbox was doing the indie stuff back on the 360. And it seems like maybe a lot of those relationships are repaired. And it's nice to see Supergiant back on Xbox because they really, really make good games.
Yeah, no, I think that relationship is definitely surely repaired now. That really came to a fore with the indie and Xbox, that rift when the Xbox One days, when they did a promo image, promo video between devs, and some of the indies actually made fun of it. And Xbox was bold enough to air it in their little sizzle reel, but these couple of indie devs making fun of it. I remember that quite clearly. I think though that ship has sailed. I think you're right, Brand. This marks. I think this doesn't in itself mark the return of indies on Xbox. That's silly, but what it does is just nail in the coffin of the old narrative that indies and Xbox don't get along. PlayStation can't put PS Heart Indie on a shirt and that mean anything, because really, in my opinion, that was just a slight on Xbox. It was capitalizing on the marketing against Xbox. That won't work now. And I think people are downplaying Hades for free on Game Pass is ridiculous value for money, peeps. Ridiculous. Games Lord, thank you so much for the HRK25. I gave up on Returnal, he says, when I got on PS5 in a year or two. It's fascinating and I want to play it, but I also must sleep. Give me that save. So basically it says, let me save. It was just so silly because it, Fonzarelli Gaming says, why should I play a game that does not respect my time? And I agree with that sentiment.
Guys, you have over 300 people watching. So why don't you hit that like button, guys? Move over there. It's super easy. Click the like button for Gaz and Asa. They put on a great show every single week. Sometimes, even when Xbox 2 is live, we sabotage them sometimes.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining the Game On Daily Show. We've hit 300 people. Want to smash that like button.
I am hitting the dislike button. Shut up.
Thanks,
If we hit
Rand.
500 likes, Rand will take off his shirt.
Yes.
Are you dressed, Rand?
Fully dressed.
We wouldn't be able to put on a good show if it wasn't for our guests, honestly. So thank you.
Hey,
both.
someone did hit the dislike button.
That was
It was
probably
me.
Asa.
That was Asa.
Not Tramar, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Think of it more like Netflix. Some people like romance shows. That's all they watch back to back. You can't just have one recent example of a genre. Yeah, maybe. Because then you just got them hooked on that crack, and now you want that roguelike. So yeah, maybe. No one's saying it's the wrong strat. I can kind of feel for the devs of other roguelikes coming at the same time as Hades, but who knows?
I think it's working, though. I mean, we don't know for sure, but I would assume it's working the way they curate the library. So the way that Asa explains it, it's working. People are really
we're
happy
talking
with the
about
service.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's,
obviously the consumers and the gamers are happy with Game Pass, but if you step back and, you know, if you look at the industry is happy and celebrating Game Pass. Developers are happy. I talked to a developer the other day that said his next game, if he could get Xbox to approach him and say, would you want to be on Game Pass, they would jump for that
Yeah.
opportunity. So...
Do you know what's nice though for me? So one of the things about Game Pass as like a kind of risk factor, because everyone knows that a game going on Game Pass is great for that game and great for that developer, and everyone loves it. And there's this risk that the games that get pushed aside and don't make it into Game Pass don't get that same spotlight. But then when you see breakaway hits like Death's Door, it makes you think everything's all right. It's nice to see that the games that are outside of it can still thrive as well. That's important.
Cold, you also played another game that hit Game Pass on day one recently that came out before Hades. I'm kind of interested in knowing what your thoughts are on Art of Rally.
Oh yeah, I was actually going to say that. I was playing Art of Rally when I was talking to this developer. Yes, I really like that game. It's so weird. I wanted to bring the camera down behind the car, but it doesn't let you. It has like varying degrees of height away from the car. And then I realized this is what makes it different from all the, because I played so many racing games. It's a very interesting, quirky little game. It has real sounds, and I don't know. It's just kind of a nice, chill game to play.
Yeah.
Another big hit that went from Steam to Xbox.
I see some people saying that when you start it up, it may not start sometimes or something. Even you
Yes,
were
there's
replying to that.
there's a glitch which is super annoying. I went to play it last night, and I was in a party chat. The glitch is you hit sign in, it sits there, and then tells you to sign in again from your Xbox dash on the little flyout. So the only way to fix it is to restart the console, and then it logs right in. It's super annoying, and I was like, I didn't want to leave. I was talking to Fonz on party chat last night, and I didn't want to say, hey, I'll be back in 30 seconds, because the Xbox restarts so quick. I just didn't bother with it. I moved on to something else, but it just does it almost every time you launch it cold. And I don't know where the patch is on that.
Yeah, what I love about this is the AE86 for all the true car guys who knows what car that is. So yeah, that's a great.
Yeah, all these are real cars, and they give them like the Lancia. It's called low wedge instead of Lancia. So yeah, it's just a cool little, a neat little game. It's kind of like the Ascent. I want to move the camera to where I want it, but I can't. So I just I'm rolling with it, and it's a cool little game. Very, very cool.
And see, look, people, we're talking about a whole variety of games. We're talking about indie games. Indie games are like in this conversation in our shows all the time. I've not seen this for years, and I love that because these games give you so much fun. I will always maintain the lifeblood of this industry rests with indies. And this, look at that van taking the L. It's like all the.
That was perfect.
So yeah, there's games everywhere, which is good. It's a good segue into the next topic.
Well, one second, guys. Colt brought it up. Did you see that that mod on? I don't know if it's a mod on PC, but where you can detach the camera from the Ascent and you can just fly around like in first person and stuff. Did you see that?
I saw that.
Can I talk about this game just really briefly? Asa and I played this game a bunch. The Ascent is extremely underrated. It has some bugs. I had one side quest that was bugged, and I had some audio glitches. This game is so good. I know Rand doesn't like it as much as I did, but I really liked it. I played all the way through it. It was brutally challenging at times. Just a really great game. And the composer who did the Dying Light soundtrack, Paweł Blazak, from Poland, did the music. It's awesome synthwave. The atmosphere is amazing. So Chris Grinnell sent me a link of some guy that took this game and unhinged the camera or no-clipped the camera and flew around this world, which you're meant to see from 300 feet in the air. And this game, you ready for the sauce, Gaz? The Ascent has 2 to 3 times more visual quality and detail than CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk 2077. No joke, no bullcrap. This game holds up visually way better than Cyberpunk, and I enjoyed the heck out of that game too. I couldn't believe the level of detail.
Storm coming your way after you said that.
So Asa and I were digging like into playing the game and looking at it and inspecting on. I'm like, Asa, what do you think is on this post? That the camera, you can't rotate the camera. Like, what do you think is on the other side of this post? Yeah. And Asa and I were like, we were like scratching our heads, like, I don't know. And we're like, is it just black? Is it a flat texture? Or do you see through it? Like, how does that work in Unreal Engine? And we're kind of trying to work it out. And we're assuming there's nothing there. This guy unhinges a camera on YouTube. Do you have that?
Play it, yeah. Though, because there is nothing there at certain points. You can see like that building has a wall.
Okay. Oh yeah, I see
so
there. I see. I'm pointing at my TV.
Yeah.
But play some of this footage here. This game looks incredible. Like one of the best looking games I've seen in a long time.
This oozes more Cyberpunk than Cyberpunk did for me.
Yeah, I've been playing. I was messing around with Cyberpunk yesterday and the day before, just kind of playing around with it, and it does not look this good. No way, absolutely no way does it look this detailed and this
12-man studio, man. 12-man studio. First game. Well done to the devs. And thank you for giving us the press.
Man, I almost would rather want to play it in first person than play it top down twin stick, you know?
Yeah, and I told Chris Grinnell, like, if you could get the camera behind your character, this game is only made to do a 2D plane shooting, so you can only move in the X direction. You can't move the camera Y, really. So, but I wouldn't mind playing a game where you just swept your reticle from left to right and mowed down enemies if it looked like this. But the reason why I wanted to talk about The Ascent is it's another game that dropped in Game Pass that is sort of in the isometric genre, and it's just another great game that just makes the value of that service unbelievably great.
Yeah, you're really going to be hard-pressed to argue against the value, the quality of Game Pass of value. And this is it. Like the isometric shooters, indie games. I mean, look at how beautiful these games look. Like, but at one point, you know, they were mutually exclusive in terms of raw visual fidelity in indie titles. But that's changed. That's changed, and proof's in the pudding.
And look at the texture work. You're never supposed to be 200 feet closer than where the camera usually is. Like, I don't know how high that camera is, but maybe 100 feet. But you're never supposed to look at these walls and floors at this close up. It's crazy.
It's crazy. And that's a shout out to the engine that it's built on. So well, and obviously the talent of the devs. Well done, honestly. And that's a good segue into the next topic. See, we're talking about games excited and all about the smaller titles on what wide variety of games. But Phil Spencer made the headlines today wrongly. Shame on some of the publications. I'm not going to name which ones, but they really went out of their way to contort what Phil Spencer said about copying Sony's strategy. So I'm not going to name the mention of the publication, although I can, but I just don't want to do it. Phil Spencer said, Phil Spencer isn't looking to copy Sony's strategy of blockbuster exclusives. And another website, I want to name it, forget it, who said, like, oh, Xbox is not interested in making blockbuster exclusives. And that obviously did the rounds on Twitter. which is so silly in the backdrop of everything we're talking about the beauty of Game Pass, the breadth of experiences from AAA to indie to AA, whatever. But this is the quote. Tell me if I'm going wrong, and this is me making a meal out of it, or it's just the media taking the mick, I'm not just saying anything, but this is Phil Spencer's quote. Our strategy is not to just go be like someone else. I get a push sometimes of where's your version of this or that game. He's talking about PlayStation. That people are asking for that AAA single player third-person, story-driven game. That's what he's talking about. Everyone knows that. And he says, I've been in this industry for a long time. I have a ton of respect for creators on all platforms, and I know many, many of them. But it's good if we're doing something different than what other platforms are doing. We're not in the business of just trying to create a green version of somebody else's blue or red colored platform, PlayStation and Nintendo. That's not the example of creativity that I want to see in the games industry. Where on earth, from that quote, are you getting that we're not making copying Sony's strategy of blockbuster exclusives? Where has he said that? It's none of that. But so many media people went out with that. And I think they should be immediately called out for that. And I've seen some of it, but it was a bit muted behind all those rallying behind the news articles. It doesn't make sense. Asa, I want to get your view on it. To the devil's advocate, it does goes both ways. Some media people, I think Jeff Grubb was saying Sony isn't interested in making that kind of diverse, smaller type of game. But then we had Herman Hulse come out and say, no, address that. But is there any credence to all these articles suggesting that? Is Phil Spencer alluding to that? Is the reality that Xbox isn't actually making these big blockbusters that a lot of us, let's be honest, want?
I partly disagree with you in that I don't think the response from these media outlets is unfair, because Phil knows the question. He knows exactly what they're asking. He knows that they're saying like, when is a God of War kind of experience coming to Xbox? And he knows that all of these other publishers like Take-Two and Activision and all the rest of them are saying like, that model's not sustainable for us. And he knows that Sony have said that model's not sustainable for us. And he's had an opportunity there to come out and say, yeah, we can deliver that kind of experience for Xbox. Now, you can say that he probably doesn't want to say it. Even if they've got one cooking, he doesn't necessarily want to talk about it now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's not dismissed or like really answered that question directly at all in a way that you can expect the media to come away and say anything other than what they've said. Because he has been asked directly, like, are there these big single-player cinematic games coming? And he's not said yes. So what else are they going to run with?
Well, actually, he has said yes.
Has he?
Yeah, in not that long ago, so I know me and Colt did a video about it. He said they have more single-player narrative games in development than they've ever had before at Xbox. Now, whether or not they're on the level of God of War,
which is what I think you're getting at.
Well, still.
It's not about scale level, though. That's not what the question was when Phil was asked. In that interview, the question was, Phil, well, it's not really a question. Phil says, I'm always asked, when are you going to make a blue version of the green version of this blue game, right? So it's so funny because basically what Phil gets is fans say, when are you guys going to make a God of War type game? When are you guys going to make a Last of Us? When are we going to get that on Xbox? And Phil's response is, we're not interested in making The Last of Us in the Xbox version. We're not interested in making God of War. We're not interested in making old guy throwing an axe on Xbox, a version of that. That's not what they're doing. They already have all these other things that are in development. And like Rand said, it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. He said we've got more single-player games than ever before. They've already been announced. They've already got a target release year, most of them. There's all these games that are coming out, and they just ignore it. It's this media site just wanted to push those clicks that PlayStation, everything they make turns to gold and sells like crazy. Blockbusters selling games. Like, well, did Returnal and Ratchet & Clank sell like gangbusters? Sold pretty well. So I don't even know where their narrative is. It's not about what level it's on.
I mean,
yeah, I hear what you're saying, absolutely. Because, I mean, in terms of scale, they've got things like Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield, so you can't level it as a criticism that the scale's not there. I know that they're investing in massive budget games. They've got Halo Infinite about to come out, right? But at the same time, there was a question that led to that response. He didn't say that out of the blue. He was asked very directly, are you trying to make an equivalent of these PlayStation games? And you can understand that the correct answer to that isn't yes. His answer is the correct answer because you don't want to go copying what Sony are doing. At the same time, he could have given a little bit more for the people that are asking for that game. Because there are a lot of people that are asking for that cinematic experience on the Xbox. And I love the fact that Game Pass... One second, I will go right over to you, Rand. But I love the fact that Game Pass allows for different sizes and scopes of games anyway. So I'm happy to say that not every Microsoft game has to be a Sony banger. I'm happy that they can experiment and they can do different things and they can do smaller games and they can do big games and they can do wide games and they can do multiplayer games. That's ideal. I want that variety. I do appreciate that people there's an obvious question that hasn't got that answer yet. But anyway, go on, Rand.
I was going to say, you are right in saying that, that's the correct answer, right? Because if he did say, well, yeah, we are copying them, then the quote's going to be like, Phil Spencer admits Sony's strategy is the correct one, right? Right? Because then you spin it the other way. And what he basically just said in a roundabout way, to sum it up, is we're going to do what we're going to do. We're Xbox. We're going to be our own thing. We're going to make the games that we want to make. And I do find it interesting, though, that he mentions PlayStation and Nintendo, but nobody brings up the Nintendo part. The immediate headline is Phil Spencer doesn't want to copy Sony's blockbuster formula, when you can make the argument that Nintendo's games are bigger than Sony's. Animal Crossing, say what you will about Animal Crossing, it's a blockbuster. It sold more than all the PlayStation games. Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Odyssey, Smash Brothers, Mario Kart 8. If you want to talk about sales and blockbusters, who does it better than Nintendo? At least when it comes to those metrics. But I almost kind of feel like that's not a sexy thing, right? Nintendo's not that much of a sexy sort of, but Sony's blockbuster games, that kind of, because that, I don't know, I feel like the Nintendo guys on Twitter are a little bit quiet, right? So when you're trying to make an article, when you're trying to spin this, when you're a website that really doesn't get a lot of volume clicks, and if you're trying to present it as something like, we need to get clicks, spinning it as Phil Spencer doesn't want to copy Sony's blockbuster single-player strategy works better, because then you're going to have Xbox guys wondering, what the heck that is. And then you're going to have PlayStation guys pounding their chests yeah, Sony, we're the best. And that's what happened, because what happened on Twitter the last couple days, you have all these PlayStation guys who clearly aren't playing any games talking on Twitter about how Xbox... Xbox, is horrible, or they're not doing any of this stuff, right? Taking time out of their day to do all those things. And if it was Nintendo, nobody would have cared. It would have been whatever. But you can make the argument that Nintendo's games are bigger than PlayStation's.
They are.
Right?
Well,
but then when you get down to it, I'm sorry. Is Halo Infinite not a blockbuster? Is Forza Horizon 5 not a blockbuster? Is Starfield not going to be a single-player blockbuster? It may not be God of War, but it's a different type of game. Is Redfall not going to be a blockbuster? Fable, Perfect Dark, Avowed? Sure, I understand that they're not the typical third-person, over-the-shoulder, cinematic, sad dad game that Sony likes to make.
Are you reading the script for my Last Souls video?
Oh my god!
I understand that those that's not those type of games, but there's different style games you can make. Let's be honest here. Halo Infinite and Forza Horizon 5 are going to be more played and played longer than any game that PlayStation puts out in the next couple years.
What's really funny,
I can't believe you said that.
No, what's really funny is if the shoe was on the other foot and that had been a Sony representative, so credit to Phil Spencer for answering the question at all. And he didn't want the narrative that Phil Spencer acknowledges Sony make better games or anything like that, because that would have been awful. But if the shoe was on the other foot and Sony were asked, when are you going to bring out a game like Halo Infinite or Sea of Thieves? The response from Sony would be can't ask us that. Can you rephrase the question? We don't talk about them.
Yeah.
But
they
never
would have
touched that in a million years.
They wouldn't.
Well, imagine if Xbox decided they were going to go the route of copying everything Nintendo does to go after that market completely. They were going to build a mascot style platformer and a fantasy game like Zelda. They were totally going to copy them. Then what would the PlayStation guys complain about then? I think I talked to somebody today. I won't say who. I talked to somebody this week where I told them not everything is a conflict. Not everything is a direct comparison or competition with each other. And it doesn't always have to be this versus that. Like, there are games that people enjoy, and Rand, you nailed it. Like, your speech was excellent, and Asa adds to it so well that Phil's message is we want to have our own identity. And they do have this massive identity where Xbox is one of the great plays for the best value and to play games that you'll play for a long time, that you'll like for a long time and put a lot of time into. Like, I play Forza Horizon, the Forza Horizon series, like for 9 months to 2 years sometimes. I'm still playing Horizon 4 until the new one comes out because there's so much content and people are still playing Halo Online. So there's a longevity there, and like I play the PlayStation exclusives. I burn through them in 8 to 30 or 40 hours, and then I don't go back and play them again. And of course, that's not that one and done thing. Like most every single player game, you usually play them once. And I know Rand rarely ever replays games, so it's not a knock on PlayStation, but PlayStation's exclusive library really precludes multiplayer or online co-op.
And that's exactly what Hargit Chani with his super chat says. Thanks so much for the $10, mate. Very generous. He says, where's Sony's Minecraft? Where's Killer Instinct, Halo, Doom, Sea of Thieves, Grounded, these kind of games, Fallout, Skyrim, Outer Worlds, Forza Horizon. Xbox has games for everyone.
Wow.
But talking on that point about longevity, like who's decided that the single player game experience that's the mantelpiece? That is the one. Why is that genre or subgenre in some cases superior to any others? Huh?
Like there's people that we know, like Lord Cognito has his like just one thing that he says he wants just one game like that, and you've got Fonz in chat here who quite frequently says, Cognito says that, and Fonz quite frequently says that those Sony games are his favourite games. So he's an Xbox fan, he's on the RDX podcast talking Xbox all the time, but he always says those Sony games are his favourites. So you can understand the question.
You can understand the question, but it's a bit lopsided considering, I mean, the experience in itself. I want that experience on Xbox just for the completeness. Even though it's not something I think would be good for the variety of Xbox. No, Rand, do you know?
I mean, as far as we've heard and know, like the studios have creative freedom to do what they want, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you like Asa, you wouldn't go to Obsidian and be like, "Listen, Obsidian, I need you to make me an Uncharted Last of Us clone," because that's not what Obsidian does. That's not that Obsidian's strength, right? Obsidian is going to make those single player RPGs that they're known for. Now, you could go to, something like Ninja Theory. They could make that, single-player third-person game. They already have with Hellblade, and I'm sure Hellblade 2 will be bigger and better than what it was. But I'm just saying, I think a lot of it has to do with, like, okay, we have all these studios. You make what you want to make. And if what you want to make is a third-person, single-player, over-the-shoulder, sad dad game, then that's what they'll make. But I mean, I don't expect that from In Exile. I don't expect that from Obsidian. So it's just kind of like what the studios are geared for. And some of them are geared for that. I think Compulsion's game might be something along those lines whenever they reveal it next year. I think Ninja Theory will be, with Hellblade 2 or Project Mara. And I'm sure off the top of my head, there might be another studio there. But they're going to make the games they want to make and that they're good at making. Like Sony Santa Monica is great at making God of War. Naughty Dog's great at making The Last of Us and Uncharted style experiences, right? So they're going to keep on doing that stuff. So I kind of feel like it's also like, hey, when are you going to do this? But it's like, do you have the right studios to make that style of game? Because you could make one, you could force somebody to make one, and then it ends up not being good. So I kind of feel some of that's also just based on what studios they do on it. Am I right on that, Asa, or do you disagree?
Sorry, I was watching chat as well. No, I absolutely agree with you. Yeah, of course, they've got great studios that do fantastic things, and we want to see them continue to do what they're good at. For sure.
But forcing them to make a third-person game when they're not, or a third-person cinematic game when.
Yeah, there's this age-old conversation where when things aren't going well for Microsoft, everyone says, "Oh, Microsoft needs to get." Well, no, they're too controlling. They're too involved with their studios. They're dictating them too much, and that's why all the games are bad. And if Microsoft step back and the games go a bit more off kill, then people say the opposite. Like, "Oh no, Sony is so supportive and controlling, and Microsoft needs to to get involved more. This is a disaster. And the fact of the matter is, they've got creative studios doing creative things, and us as gamers, we want them to say, realize your vision and we'll give you the resources and support that you need to do that. Not realize what Sony are doing. We want you to make sad dad game, as you say. So yeah, absolutely.
Sad dad game.
And that's the meme everybody uses, right? Third person over the shoulder cinematic sad dad game. If it doesn't got sad dad, it's not a Sony game.
Yeah, and I've seen that, and that annoys me, especially as a guy who likes multiplayer more. It's just like, what? Why? Then I can start taking the mick at PlayStation for not having one good Halo beta in 3, 4 ever generations.
Our buddy Zalker87, he's been on Sony for. He thinks it's BS that Sony won't make a multiplayer game, right, Colt?
Yeah,
I agree
he faults them for that pretty hard. Yeah,
I agree.
I can't see God of War having an online. Well, I mean, imagine if you could play God of War in co-op and play as Atreus. Like, that would be really cool. But it would require quite a bit of work to make that happen. I mean, look at Gears. They let you play as a flying robot as a third co-op partner.
Yeah.
So
Shout out Jack.
yeah, and like Gears 5 was one of those games that tried. I feel like Coalition really stretched their legs to do like that cinematic thing that had. Well, they did on 4 as well. Both of those games are really cinematic.
Asa said
so
before,
yeah, they just did like they brought a little bit of open world, but like, and I agree with Fonz and Rand because Spider-Man's probably my favorite game. One of my top 10 games that came out last generation, and I played it on the PS4, and I would like a big open world cinematic story-based game like that on Xbox. We didn't really get that, and now I know that they've got those in the works, and they've got these RPGs and these single-player games that have multiplayer components in them. I like that, so I'm good.
And there's like, so in today's news, apparently there's an appeal to these games. Single player Control has passed 10 million players, and as a result of that, apparently a bigger budget Control game is in conception phase. So, the big single player linear or open world game has an appeal.
Roguelite.
Roguelite.
It's kind of a roguelite in its own way.
Is it?
I mean, wouldn't you kind of consider it a roguelite, Rand, as you
Control?
unlock new? Yeah.
No, it's more of a Metroidvania.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sometimes people throw those two together in the same.
Well,
I guess you don't die and
can be that, but no, Control is your
Metroidvania. Yeah.
Alan Wake-ish. It's like
Crispy Bomb says, "Gaz, you're gonna tell Colt Gears sucks like me. Gears sucks, Colt. There you go. Yes, I will. There you go. See, you think I don't have the cojones? I'll go into that later on. But
and blocked. Gaz is blocked on Twitter. No, I'm just kidding.
Gears needs to completely be redone from ground up. That's my opinion. But
yes.
X-Baby Hand, he agrees, Crispy. $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Baby Hand. X-Baby Hand. That reminds me of scary.
Don't say it.
Reason. I don't know why. Sony. Don't say what. I don't get it. But Sony games are like, probably a good thing I didn't get it. Sorry. Sony games are like really good movies that you want to watch once or twice. Xbox games are like good TV shows. They go on for years and years. That works on a different meta level as well because of Game Pass. It's like Netflix, right? You binge on the shows. That's a good analogy. Dude, what do you prefer, movies or shows? I like that. That's
both, because I play them all. I play the Sony exclusives and I play everything Xbox makes. And, I mean, I beat Ratchet and Clank. I beat Returnal. Returnal's one of my favorite games of this year. Yeah. God of War is a masterpiece and one of the best games of last generation. I think my game of the year for 2020 was Ghost of Tsushima. So even though I'll play into the whole meme thing, I think Sony makes absolutely incredible games, and that's the reason. That's like the utmost compliment I can give PlayStation. I literally spent $400 on a digital PS5 strictly to only play their games. Nothing else. Like, my PlayStation is not playing any multiplats on there. It's only to play the Sony single player games that they make, which is, I think, a compliment. Like, I'm buying your system, I'm spending this amount of money knowing I'm only going to be able to use it twice a year, 3 times a year, but I'm getting it because I know those experiences are going to be absolutely amazing. And most of the time, 90% of the time they are. It's totally worth it. But
Yeah.
I don't want personally, I don't want Xbox to just copy PlayStation. I want Xbox to be its own thing, whether that's you got your RPGs, you got your multiplayer, you got your single player, like a whole mix of all these different things. That's what I want. I don't want anybody to copy anybody. Like Nintendo doesn't copy anybody, and they're extremely successfor Sony doesn't copy anybody, and they're extremely successful. I don't see why Microsoft or Xbox why it's a big thing if for him to say, you know what, we're gonna do what's good for us. We want our own identity, but somehow that's like a horrible thing. Like, how dare you not copy PlayStation? You know what I mean? Like, what are we really talking about here? Stop playing Twitter and actually play some games for once. Jesus.
Hans is in the chat goes, we need one, Rand. Just give us one of those games. I think I agree.
They've got enough studios. They have to have all of the identities now.
Well, yeah. The thing is with Game Pass the thing about it is you need so many different types of experiences that you're going to get those type of games because each type of experience brings different type of gamers to the platform and to a subscription service. So you're going to have your live service, Forza Motorsports, Halo, stuff like that. You're going to have your RPGs. You're going to have your third-person cinematic experiences. Your ones and dones, so to speak, because they each speak to a different gamer. And when you're trying to reach 3 billion and you're trying to have a subscription service that wants to hit 50 million, you need to hit all your bases. That's why they even talking about buying a family-friendly studio for E-rated content, because they want to. They know they need every type of content for the service, and that goes from family-friendly all the way to third-person cinematic AAA experiences. Come on.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Coach raising his hand, guys. Call on him.
Go. Sorry.
So I gotta say something that's bothered me for a little while. I did some videos on the initiative when they were built by Xbox, and they're made up of this team that is incredible with Daryl Gallagher at the helm, who rebooted Tomb Raider, and they brought on these people that worked at Rockstar and Sony Santa Monica for God of War, and all of the DNA and the recipe just all looked like they were going to build in a third-person open world that just won game for Xbox. And I was really convinced that that's what they were doing. They brought that team on. That was the type of game they were going to make. It was going to be the just one. And then we heard rumors that Perfect Dark was being rebooted. And I'm like, I'm not a Perfect Dark fan, but with Daryl Gallagher, I wasn't a Tomb Raider fan, and now I am with the reboot. And then a year and a half ago or whatever it was, they said that a year ago, they said the game is a first-person shooter. And I'm like, what? So really the only third-person, over-the-shoulder, open-world, cinematic blockbuster is Senua's Saga 2, Hellblade, which may be semi-open world, may be more puzzle-based. Uncharted's very puzzle-based. It won't be... It will be a melee-based game. It won't have firearms. So, like Tomb Raider kind of had all those things. So that's what worries me a little bit. And I know that there's these other games in the works. There's a lot of first-person games on Xbox, not a lot of third-person. So when you're asking for just one, it really comes down to... Because Starfield will be played in first-person almost the whole time, I'm pretty sure. That's what I'm assuming. So... the just one comes down to Hellblade and Fable and maybe Compulsion. So that it's kind of iffy there to look at what's coming. What do you think, Rand? Do you think I'm crazy?
So I'm gonna interrupt, and then we'll go into Rand. So I think the Sony ones. The other thing, the kind of advantage that Microsoft had there is all of these Sony games that they're so lauded for. So The Last of Us 2 and God of War and things like that. They're really long. And I actually struggle with the length of them sometimes, just in terms of like fitting all the time in to get through one of those games. But Sony are tied to that $70 model, so they have to be that long, or people are going to complain. Microsoft are free of that, so they could do a God of War where you don't fight the same troll 3 or 4 times, for example. Like they can do things. Game Pass enables them to do things. It frees them from that model. And I just want diversity of experiences. I'd be so happy to have polished, shorter experiences. Absolutely just fine. But
That's such an underrated comment right there, Asa. Look, think about what he's saying. Because Sony is committed to that $70, £70 model, it has to do that. And this is where Sony's screwed, unless it goes back on that model. And I can't see them doing that. Whereas Xbox, this is why Xbox is going to kill PlayStation this generation, as far as us gamers are concerned, and the breadth of experience and all the crap that we said we like in this chat. Sony can't do that. Sony can't deliver that breadth of experience, no matter how much Herman Hull says they have 25 games in development, because something has to give. Your $70 model, your AAA thing that you're known for. That's what Rand bought his PS5 for. I bought my PS5 for. We all bought that for, despite their anti-consumer console. But they're stuck on that. And you're absolutely right, Asa. And I think it's such an underrated comment that they are committed to that. And there is a problem there. It's why Xbox is going to kick its... Yeah, I don't know what that would be censored. That would be that long. But it was going to kick its ass. Xbox is going to kick PlayStation's ass this generation. I'm sure of it. Just like I said, PlayStation was going to beat the crap out of Xbox last gen. It did. It wasn't exactly a poignant prophecy. You could see it from a mile away. But this time, PlayStation's in trouble, in my opinion. Especially for gagging for something like Abandoned. I'm such a troll. Yeah, sorry, Howgie Channy, I want to hit you a quick super chat before I forget. Sorry, I missed it. I don't know how correct these figures are. Brand, you're a bastion of knowledge. And oh my god, the chat scrolled away. I'm sorry, Howgie Channy. Wait. Did I copy and paste it? I'm such a genius, I copied and pasted it. Top 50s, because I know my memory's so bad. Huggy, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. He goes, top 50 selling games. Nintendo has 26. Xbox has 3. Sony has 1. And Sony is 50th. I don't know what the metric is. Top 50 selling of all times, and Sony is the 50th? I don't know what that means, unless the gents can clarify. But apologies for bringing that late. I know that came in earlier. I also see a super chat from... Oh, there we go. Faisal Ahan, thanks so much for the Canadian $2.79. It says, Fable, Compulsion, Coalition Games will be third person. Yes?
Well, we know
Compulsion.
Compulsion definitely is, because they said that on the Iron Lords podcast, Cognito and King David and Sovereign and Addict. So we know it's third person. So is it a Banjo game? Will Colt be surprised when Compulsion's next game is a Banjo remake in third person? No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Colt will love it.
Somebody needs to clip that. Sorry, go ahead.
Somebody needs to clip Asa when he said he struggles with the length. You know?
Oh my! Rand!
Wow. I do struggle with it too. It's too long, the PlayStation experience on some of these games. It doesn't respect
the PlayStation experience is too long. They haven't had the PlayStation experience in a while, have they? If the chat says one more time that I love Banjo.
Oh, man. I don't get the Banjo hype. I think it's just nostalgia, just like Shenmue 3 was, and we all know how that turned out.
Oh my gosh, that was interesting. I'm just too old for Banjo. I'm sorry, guys.
It's not even that. It's just I don't see how it would translate well into a good game in the future. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I like my platformers, but you can't beat Nintendo. This week.
Hey, the Crash Bandicoot 4.
Yeah.
What's it called? I forgot what it's called. Yeah, that feels and looks really nice. That's a really nice looking game. But, they've kind of made it look nice.
Yeah. I mean, there's always room for... I don't know what they'll do with Banjo. I don't think Rare want to actually do it. Otherwise, they would have done it.
They said they won't.
They won't.
And Tim Schafer said he won't.
On Xbox 2 yesterday, I brought up... At the end of the show, I brought up Jez's tweet. I don't know if any of you guys saw Jez's tweet yesterday or the other day where he said... Lay it on me. What is your biggest concern regarding Xbox? Because he wanted to make an article, right? Yeah. So we talked about it on the show, and Jez asked me, and I kind of want to hear what you guys think, like what your biggest concern is. Because a lot of people pointed to the game DVR, and they want that fixed, or they want YouTube streaming and all that stuff, right? So I said my biggest concern has always been exactly like the same thing. It's about the games. My concern is basically, can Matt Booty help Ninja Theory reach their ultimate apex? Can he help Undead Labs make State of Decay 3 better than it's any of the other ones, right? Can Xbox Game Studios take the next leap into creating amazing games, right? My whole thing is like, look, all I care about is great games. All I want from Xbox is amazing experiences, quality games, whether they're single player, multiplayer, AA, or AAA. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. And we'll eventually get that answered. We'll know, in time whether or not Matt Booty can help these studios become better than they were before, and if the games are all quality. Well, that'll be answered. And either we'll look like geniuses or we'll look like absolute fools and shills. Be like, oh, you've been shilling for Xbox for years, and you told us these games are going to be good, but they're still 60 meta, right? That type of stuff. So
that could really happen.
And that's until that point, we'll see. So I want to ask you guys, Gaz, what's your biggest concern with Xbox?
Same as you. Because everyone think, and this kind of goes against what I was saying about PlayStation's arse getting kicked by Xbox because of this, because of my Xbox's model, but quality isn't assured here. And I think there's a balance to be struck. When we had David Jaffe on, he made this point about how Sony are proactive. I know it's kind of going, oh, now you're saying hover around these studios and do quality control. But quality control isn't a bad thing. I'm a little bit worried about Matt Booty's super open approach to giving these guys freedom to do things. I think there needs to be a little bit more quality control, and history has shown us that. There's a big problem when you're expanding so aggressively, and it is an aggressive expansion, then something has to give. You need to really make sure you curate that stuff. You have to keep an eye on things. And I think Microsoft's a little bit scared to do that, or reluctant to do it compared to Sony. So I can't give you a guarantee on whether Perfect Dark is going to be good. Because if Perfect Dark tanks, as much as it's nice to say we've got Perfect Dark coming back, if that's not a great game, damn, it's over. Same with Avowed. Avowed is being, measured against Elder Scrolls. Is that going to be good? I cannot. I have less confidence, and this is controversial. Well, it's not. It shouldn't be. I have less confidence in Xbox's studios to deliver quality than I have PlayStation's, because the track record speaks for itself. But it's very premature as well, because these are Xbox studios that are newly found, so there's not much to go on there.
They're not really. Like, I'm looking at the studio list right now. These studios have been making great games for a long time. I'm looking at the list. It's so funny. Like, I guess my concern, if you're asking me, would be, this is so weird. Like, I'm worried about Rare and Undead Labs, and I like State of Decay 2 a lot, but it needs a lot of things. And
definitely.
They wanted to be AAA with 2, and they weren't. So they have to go above and beyond their own expectations for sure, and our expectations to deliver for State of Decay 3. But like Rare making Everwild, they went back to the drawing board with it. Like, I'm not convinced that Everwild is going to be a game I like, and I don't really like Sea of Thieves. But I look at Sea of Thieves, and it is massively popular and successful. Who cares if Colt likes it? Because millions of people love that game. So, like, when you say, like, Avowed has to deliver in Perfect Dark, I absolutely agree with you. Obsidian has a great track record. They've got really high-rated stuff. And so Avowed should be really great. And then, I don't know, I just look at... I guess my concern would be with 343.
Are you guys seeing what I'm seeing right now?
What?
You need to bring out the fly swatter, Colt.
Oh yeah.
You're not seeing that, guy?
Yeah, I saw it go by. Yeah. It was CG. It was a CG fly.
He's got a fly swatter there in his desk.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. That's funny. My studio's in the garage, and if somebody comes in, a fly's like. So my concern would be Rare.
Yeah.
And 343. And we played the beta. We played the flighting. The game feels great, and I'm hearing that the campaign's going to be better than we thought, but it's like when those big studios don't deliver, it doesn't look good on Xbox, but they have so many studios that are going to do great. Bethesda, their only bad games, Fallout 76. So like all their games really highly rated. So when people say PlayStation's tried and true, this is like a whole, like I could get up on the soapbox with this, because when you look at all the PlayStation games and you put them all together and you aggregate them, they're around an 80 or an 82 meta in total. And if you do the same with Xbox, they're like around a 78 to an 80. They're not that far off. But PlayStation has put out all these games that get nominated for Game of the Year, and they've won a couple of Game of the Years, and Xbox hasn't. It's such a weird litmus test that people put.
It's the core gaming litmus test, but it seems to work in terms of sales. It translates somehow. There's got to be a correlation there. State of Decay is a really good example. State of Decay now with Microsoft money should be the game it deserves to be. State of Decay 1 and 2 didn't look that much different apart from that visual overhaul, which is considerable. But State of Decay 3 should be the game it should be. A proper open world game that looks good. I'm sorry, but State of Decay, it has no excuse. It has to look considerably better than the first two games. And the scope for State of Decay is such a good game, but imagine a proper, huge, large-scale game like The Walking Dead on crack, like the actual players online, persistent world. It would be epic, and that's what it needs to be. I just don't have that confidence. I don't know.
Asa, what do you think?
Yeah,
I'm gonna waffle for a little while now, because I want to expand on things that both Gaz and Colt and Rand have said, actually. So, Rand, obviously, games are of the utmost importance. So that should be our primary concern for everyone. It's like we want the good games to come. Of course we do. Gaz was talking about when we had David Jaffe on the show, and what he was saying Sony would do differently to Microsoft. And for context, this is just to add a little bit onto what Gaz was saying. So we had David Jaffe on the show either immediately before or immediately after the Medium released for the Xbox consoles. And what he was saying was that if Microsoft's first party is a bit dry at that point in time, which it was, there weren't Xbox exclusive games coming out, the Medium was the one thing that they had, as they're like, you associate it with Xbox, it's coming out as an Xbox exclusive for a while. And he was saying that if that was Sony, they'd fly in like an elite team of super developers to Bloober Studio and make sure that that was as hot as it could be. And he wasn't seeing Microsoft do that. So that's just a little extra context onto what Gaz was saying about how Sony might be supporting studios against how Microsoft are or aren't. Medium obviously aren't first party, so it's not necessarily.
Sony should have flown in some studios to help with Destruction All Stars, huh?
Yeah, well, but that's like the point that Gaz was making for the way that, or that David Jaffe was making for how Sony would handle their catalog or their launch lineup like that. I don't have concerns over that directly. Colt was also saying that he was talking about there's a couple of games that he's not particularly into, but by and large, everything that Xbox release, I'd say the four of us on this panel and pretty much everyone in the chat is interested, conceptually at least, is interested in the games that Xbox are putting out. That actually has to change at some point. If they want to grow Game Pass beyond people like us, they're going to need to start announcing games that actually we don't necessarily care about because they're trying to reach new audiences that aren't us.
Good point.
And that's just a reality that has to happen over time, and they've got enough studios and they're going to keep buying studios, and some of them are just going to be not that interesting, and that is what it is. For me, the biggest concerns though, the things I would like to see Xbox fix, I would say, so concerns might be slightly the wrong word, but I would like to see them get rid of gold. I think everybody sees that coming and wants that to happen. Gold is a horrific rip-off, and the idea that putting free-to-play games on the other side of it is enough is so far from true for me. Actually, this is a real conversation I had. So a parent of a kid that my kids know was like, oh, free-to-play games are free now. I'm going to get an Xbox then, so my kid can play Fortnite, right? Yeah, they can play Fortnite online. They can play Roblox, right? Yeah, they can play Roblox online. They can play Minecraft, right? No, you have to subscribe to play Minecraft. Why do I have to subscribe to play Minecraft?
Yeah.
Because you paid for the game. What? Like it's completely backwards, and people need to realize that's completely backwards. So gold needs to go away, and it will at some point. I'm sure it will when Game Pass catches up. The other thing that I would like to see personally, again, having family, is I would like to see all of these digital options easier to share within a household. That's the big thing that I want them to address. I want, even if you have to pay a little bit more, like I want a family Game Pass Ultimate. Would say a family gold, but I don't want gold at all. They can go away. That's my big thing that I want them to address for consumer friendliness.
That's good. That's really good. if Xbox One original policies came to the fore, you would be having this already, wouldn't you? A lot of what
Potentially.
you were
There was
asking.
also a lot of talk that family sharing was part of the original Xbox One vision, but we never really had that fleshed out or saw what it meant. But maybe.
Yeah, which
You mean the Xbox One policies of nothing that
Yeah.
weren't fleshed out?
Yeah.
And then everybody points to like, oh, we would have had it. You'd have all this. No, you wouldn't have. That was
maybe
never.
you don't know.
No. That was
Mystic
never fleshed
Meg, how
out
do you
like
know?
that. And you know what? I want to say,
Oh,
like, you guys had King David on last week, and you let him talk for an hour about there being no PS6 and stuff, and I didn't hear much pushback from you on that, Gaz.
I
Although
love
Asa
King
did
David,
push
okay?
back a little bit
I
on it.
love him. His energy. How can you disagree with King? He's so... Actually, I did disagree with him. The conclusion was I think he's wrong. But I had to let King David do his thing. It was such a good take on it as well. Think about what he's saying. He's saying there's no physical PS6. And then he brought it back and said that they wouldn't be... He didn't think... He expected the same for Xbox. Everyone got crazy because of that notion. I ain't pushing back on King David. You see that guy? Try pushing back. He would knock me out in 2 seconds. But in terms of his sentiment, he was spot on in terms of forward facing. Whether or not, but we all agreed. Me and Asa disagreed, and we said openly he has access to our knees if the PlayStation 6 doesn't happen. But it's happening, in my opinion. But that's well, come on, Randall, pull up on you. It's Cole, did you actually air your concern? Because that's very... I like the way you've taken control, Rand. It's good. But you're asking very good questions there. Cole, if this is one thing that concerns you about Xbox, what is it the most that you're concerned with?
I mean, I kind of said, like, where Rare and 343 are headed, which is kind of inconsequential when you're looking at 23 studios, like two of them. One of them is their biggest studio. Like, that's my concern, but I think it really goes back to what you and Asa were saying, is that quality control, because it's a hands-off approach with Xbox. They let them do their own thing, but I really believe, and people argue with me on this one, but I really believe that PlayStation overlords their studios and takes a look and let me see what you got. Let's see what you have ready. And then they give them direction, like, it needs to have this, and it needs to have that. This needs to be polished up. Because their games come out, almost all of them come out flawless as far as bugs, and everything looks great, and it has the PlayStation stamp of approval because they all work together. And Xbox is doing that where their teams can work together and share resources and ideas and engine creation, things that they do in the engines. But you see the same DNA shared. Like when you play Days Gone, it's like, wow, this feels like The Last of Us and Uncharted in so many ways because they use a lot of the same mechanics and the same ideas, and they could do it and they're not ripping off because they all work for the same team. So that's my concern. If Xbox can just bring in a couple of people who bring those studios together and sit down with Obsidian and say, we love what you're doing with Outer Worlds 2. It needs a little bit of this. It needs to do that. And it'll just, come back to us in 6 months. I know you're trying to put out in fall of this year. Let's push for spring, and then it'll be perfect. That's my concern, is that I need to see that from Xbox. But it's kind of a moot point because this is a brand new Xbox. Everything you've ever seen come out from Xbox is the old team when they had very few studios. They didn't have the funding. I did an entire video about how Phil Spencer brought the team and Satya on board, and then 6 months later, Satya did that video where he said, we're all in with gaming. So we don't know what to expect other than now they have full backing, and they were running on a shoestring budget for a long time. So my concerns may be for no reason, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, Xbox is super healthy compared to, especially compared to last gen. It's just we, as the Xbox fans, have gone. There's a lot of not mistrust, but there's not anxiety, but there's a little bit of trepidation with the way Xbox does things, and that's understandable considering what we went through last gen. So when it's coming out to win, it sounds too good to be true. We want to kind of cover the bases. Rand is a very good question, and well, Jazz posed it. So shout out to Jazz for asking that. It's a good diagnosis on maybe what's happening. It'll be good to see someone in chat, TM Mango or something, says, "Oh, we'll see in a few years if you're right or wrong." We will see, but who knows?
Your chats.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead, Rand.
I was gonna say we'll see soon with 343's campaign of Halo, right?
Yeah.
We'll see next year Starfield and Redfall if the Bethesda purchase was worth its $7 billion, right? Because you would imagine Starfield is going to be as good, if not better, than the Fallouts and the Elder Scrolls, right? Same thing. Like Arcane makes these incredible games, so you'll know then. And then, like all first-party games that are all set for 2023, according to Jeff Grubb and other people, the Hellblades, the Fables, the Perfect Darks, the Avoweds, like all that stuff. Yeah. So it's like, eventually, that question will be answered. And there's some other things, like I know us being here in the States, we usually get everything, but I know Xbox support isn't always the best in other areas of the world. Microsoft Rewards isn't there in some places. Localization is a big issue. So I would imagine, like, wherever you are, you'll have different concerns about Xbox, as it is. Like, my main concern is, like, look, I needed the hardware to be fixed, and they did it. The One X was a big improvement over the One, and now you have the Series X, and it's amazing console. And it's like, you're killing it with the services of Game Pass, right? I think Game Pass is going to disrupt the industry in a major way, and it's a great thing. And then the only thing my question was just the games. I want, like, why did you buy Ninja Theory and Obsidian and all these studios? Like, I want to see what Microsoft's money can do to help those studios build games that they couldn't build when they were independent. And can Matt Booty and company actually do that and help them be the best studios that are possible? Those are my concerns. You know what I mean?
No. It wouldn't be a Go Live show if we didn't ask our guests this. We have to ask you this round. You touched upon the fact that we'll see if 343 can deliver with Halo Infinite and its campaign. What are your thoughts on? What's your prediction on Halo Infinite? Will it bang?
I think the multiplayer will bang for sure. Like, I'm pretty confident. My concern with 343 is always, it's the campaign. Like, can they put like the full product together? Campaign, Forge, multiplayer, and actually, because both of their other games, it's like they did one well, but then they did the other well, right? 4, single player was great, multiplayer was bad. 5, single player is bad, multiplayer is great. It's like, can you actually combine them all and make it all great from the very beginning? I hope so. I have confidence that multiplayer is going to be good, especially after playing it. They are kind of hiding the campaign a little bit outside of that 8-minute demo last year where it was torn apart by everybody and laughed at and memes were made. I love Halo. It's my favorite franchise. I need it to be great again. But then the other big question, we got Gamescom coming up soon, Gaz.
Ooh.
Are we gonna get the Halo release date at Gamescom?
I think we should. What's the bigger event after that? Gamescom comes second after E3. That's a good time to release that. But I have a little bit concern there. I would have expected the release date to be announced sooner than. If we don't get it at Gamescom, then my conclusion from that is 343 are going down to the wire with their quality assurance, and they don't have the date yet.
Do you agree with that, Asa? If we don't see a release date for Halo at Gamescom, then, because I've seen people talk about this industry, talking heads or whatever, like, if we go past Gamescom and there's no Halo release date, then Halo might be in trouble for releasing in 2021. Do you subscribe to that theory, or are you like, nah, Halo can announce something in September and release in November and they'll be perfectly okay?
The latter. So I think obviously the multiplayer has been tested and is coming along well. We can see that. Joe Staten said when he joined that the campaign was content complete at that point. I can't see it being delayed. I don't think there's a particular you have to announce it by X, Y, Z, or everything's gone wrong. So no, I do not subscribe to that.
Oh, I've I love 343 and I hate 343 because of the roller coaster of emotions. But I am confident. I think Halo Infinite will be one of the best Halo games we've seen in a very long time.
I'm of the opinion that it's ready, or as ready as can be. They know it's going to be ready, and they are just waiting to see how the other cards fall to give it its best chance.
Okay. Well, that's a positive look. Like, they have a lot of time. If it's like November is the release date, they've got a lot of time to get things right, and they have to get Halo right, I guess. But yeah, 343.
Well, I gotta ask, Asa, prediction, release date, what is it?
But they'll get there November 15th.
Oh, you think they're gonna release on the anniversary?
I think that's what they'd like to do, and they're waiting to see if anything disrupts that being the best possible date.
That would be a big date. Big release Monday, 15th, 20th anniversary.
Isn't Call of Duty looking like a nah with a lot of people? It's called Call of Duty Vanguard. Like what time period does it take place?
World War II, baby.
Boo. Yeah.
Boo.
Sorry. I'm tired of that. I'm tired.
I think Activision is in a weird position where they're putting out a World War II game again, and a lot of people are like, maybe the people who don't like Activision right now are not the ones that have to buy Call of Duty every year. Like that's a whole other group that buys it no matter what. But Rand and I have been talking quite a while about how Phil's probably waiting to see what that release date is for Call of Duty before he comes out with the release date for Halo, right?
Yeah. People are talking about this a lot, and I'm quite surprised, which is good. Good, because this controversy is really bad. How does this stuff happen in workplaces? And it's just horrible. But I'm seeing a lot of people saying they're boycotting. Well, maybe I'm just in the core gaming circles, but I'm seeing boycott. What the hell? Sorry, I just allowed a chat in there.
Activision Blizzard.
Just weird. Yeah, Activision Blizzard. Like, do you think it's going to make a big difference, Asa? Do you think this is going to have an adverse effect?
So this is interesting, actually. So when all of this news broke, I was of the opinion that boycotting it is probably a good thing, but there's been quite a bit of coverage since where people have spoken to developers at Activision Blizzard and elsewhere and asked them, so the people that are directly affected by it, do you think people should be boycotting the games that you're making? Is that helpful? And the feedback from them is by and large, no, please don't boycott our games. We've worked really hard on these. That's not going to make a difference where we're working. Yeah. Pressure in other ways, but actually please do play the games because they mean a lot to us. So I don't condemn anyone that's saying that they want to boycott these and make a stand. Like, I'm not sure it's necessarily effective, but good on you for trying to stand up for people that need to be stood up for. But absolutely. The developers themselves have kind of given you permission to play Diablo 2 or Call of Duty if you want to.
Yeah.
Well said, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, we've gone past the 2-hour mark because we're getting exhausted. Is there anything else you guys want to chat? I have loads of topics. I could go on for a while, but I don't know.
I was just going to ask Rand if there's any... do you have a question? One more crazy question for Rand, guys?
Oh, yeah. Rand. Can you talk about a brand new Xbox game in development that has something to do with hip-hop? Or rap?
Oh, we need a camera to see his response.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I have no idea either.
Do you think that rhythm games are coming back? Like maybe somebody said that. That reminds me, guys. Somebody said Xbox should buy Rock Band and bring it back, and I'm like, I think that's all dead and gone. There's no SingStar or Rock Band.
What about
is that what are you alluding to? Some kind of rhythm game coming back?
I don't know. That's what someone was saying that Xbox needed to bring back rhythm games, but I think those are completely done.
Who cares about those? I mean, I like those.
I like them, but
I like the Guitar Hero stuff. Oh, we'd have such a sick time if we did it together, man. I'd be crying of laughter. Dead. But yeah. So, Ace's poll. Oh, does Xbox need a sad dad banger? And with 66 votes in total, they said no. Don't want your single player AAA third person game. You're wrong there, by the way. You desperate. No matter how much you want to pretend otherwise, you want it. you want it. And Rock Band is a lot of fun. Happy Bomb Rock Band was amazing fun.
Yep.
But I don't think it's good. Is that what you're alluding to? You're trying to put Rand in the mud there.
I thought you guys were going to talk about Quake there for a minute, coming back next week.
Thank you, Rand. Rand, where would I be without you today? This is the one. If anyone knows how much I love id Software and how much I love Quake, there is a very credible source or leak that's been deleted. Quake is the first Quake remaster is coming back. Is that what's been leaked, Rand?
I mean, according to the schedule for QuakeCon, id Tech and some people from Machine Games are talking about the history of Quake, and then the next day there's John Littleman's hosting a panel with someone from Machine Games, and they're going to talk about what they've done for the revitalized, was it revitalized? Was the word they used? Revitalized Quake. So it sounds like a remaster or maybe something like that. But then it's like, why would Machine Games be helping if it's a simple remaster? You could port it. You know, there's been talk that maybe they're doing a reboot down the line with like id making the single player and Machine Games doing the multiplayer or something like that. I don't know, but it does kind of seem like we'll see something regarding Quake next week during QuakeCon.
I'm so hyped. Quake is beast. Quake 3 Arena, or something like that level came back. Arena shooter.
I need to ask you guys, because I know, like me, you love Quake 3 Arena, but do you, like, if they come out and say Quake 1 or Quake 2 is being remastered or brought back with a campaign, does that mean much to you?
It does, because I never actually really sampled them very briefly, so maybe I can get a chance. So a remake would be good, not a remaster, because I'm on PC.
So if they remake, not reboot, I'm with Rand. I don't think they're rebooting like they did Doom, but if there really is some merit to them bringing Quake 1 or maybe Quake, I don't know. Let's say they bring Quake 1 and port it up to Xbox. Is that an exclusive, Rand?
I mean, I asked Jez that same question. I would assume so. I think anything that Bethesda pushes out outside of like updates for Doom Eternal or Elder Scrolls Online or Fallout 76 will be exclusive, except for, and I'll be interested because I'm going to ask you guys this, Indiana Jones. I think Indiana Jones is a straight multiplat. And I think it's the last multiplat that Bethesda ever makes.
I'm going to hold my ground and say that Indiana Jones isn't exclusive. Why not? Everyone else says it's going to be a multiplat, but I talked to a developer that said that licensing agreements don't always stipulate and say you have to be on every platform. Like if they struck this deal before the Xbox acquisition, like is it really in the writing in the contract that the game can't be exclusive to any platform for any reason? Like how does that even come up? Like if they go to LucasArts for the Indiana Jones IP and say, Bethesda says, we want to make a game. LucasArts goes, okay, cool. I mean, you guys usually make games for a bunch of different platforms, so have at it. Here it is. And then Xbox comes in 6 months later and goes, hey, we want to buy you. What do you have? I'm like, well, we're working on this Indiana Jones game. We're working on this Starfield game. We're working on like a Skyrim type game, you know? Or not. Actually, they're not. That's avowed. We're working on Elder Scrolls. Yeah, like, what do you guys have? I'll take the L, but I'm just saying I'm not convinced that it's written in that contract before they became an exclusive developer that you can't put the game on just one platform. I just don't even think that's in the contract, but
I don't know.
What do you think, Gaz?
The pre-contractual obligations that Phil Spencer alluded to, there's something there.
Otherwise that's true.
Otherwise, it's just two games. Like, I can mention them by name. Oh, yeah, Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo. That's just two
right.
games.
I mean, it's not to say Xbox couldn't go back to LucasArts or Lucasfilm and renegotiate to try to make it exclusive. But I would imagine, like Bethesda, since they nailed this before they got acquired, they were a multi-platform publisher, and maybe the thought process was like, well, you're multi-platform, so this game's going to go everywhere, and we as Lucasfilm want Indiana Jones everywhere. We don't want it to be exclusive, but then Xbox buys them, and then they try to renegotiate, being like, hey, they're our developer, can we make it exclusive? And they're like, we're not budgeting on this, but we can do Game Pass day one or something along those lines.
But I'm still going to argue with you, Rand. Like, what's bigger, Marvel's Spider-Man or the Indiana Jones IP?
Well,
when you think about it, like Marvel was like, "Oh, we're totally fine with you only being on the PlayStation." They sold like 20 million copies.
Yeah, but when you're negotiating with Sony, the expectation is the game's only going to be on PlayStation. That's the difference. They were negotiating with Bethesda, and the expectation is
so. Do you think that
platform?
Do you think that Phil, when they acquired Bethesda, they looked at that? They're like, well, crap, that Indiana Jones game is going to be a multiplat, and they're like, oh, well, it is what it is. Let's keep moving forward. We're going to have Bethesda forever.
Do you not buy Bethesda simply because Machine Games is one of their studios is already tied up in a multi-platform game? Or do you nix the whole deal because
No. I wouldn't say they wouldn't buy him, but like I'm just asking, like when you said, do they go back and check out the agreement? Like, does Phil think it's not worth the time to go back and say, hey, let's look at this agreement with LucasArts and see what we can do because you're with us now, and we want to build this exclusive library that you can only get on the Xbox platform and through Game Pass. So, like, is it worth their time and money, or do they have to pay extra, or does LucasArts go, well, what's the deal here? You guys only going to be on Xbox. What's that mean? And then they say, well, that means on Xbox consoles, Steam, and Windows PC, and then we're on mobile through xCloud. And LucasArts like, crap, that's like 150 million possible users. Good, let's go ahead. That's why I think like. Why just say it's not going to be exclusive and just move on from that? I don't think it's like a very good prediction to say that, to just the be end all that it's a multi-plat.
Contractual obligations and pre-existing ones can be really it's never as simple as
it can be messy.
It can be so intricately woven that you can't just case of renegotiating them. You have to value the sanctity of contract, and some things are just not things that you can rewire. There's a lot there without having insight.
You broke the contract with me?
No, I didn't. What was the contract?
I mean, Asa, what do you think? Do you think Indiana Jones?
It's a really difficult one because of the timing. So the whole Spider-Man thing, you can park that off to the side because with Spider-Man, Sony had something that Disney won. Sony had the movie rights, so they've got something to negotiate with and to make that exclusive, and that, like, it's just notoriously tangled rights for Spider-Man. Disney in general, a couple of years ago, they were really strict with their licensing, and you would have said they would definitely have negotiated a multi-platform release. But since they got rid of all of their own studios and said, actually, we don't want only EA to be making Star Wars games, we want Ubisoft to make one, we want all these other people to make one, and we're going to be really flexible and generous with our licensing. They're a completely different proposition. But you'd have to follow the timeline quite closely to see which Disney would have negotiated this contract. And then you can only guess as to whether they've insisted that it's multi-platform or not. I don't think Microsoft will renegotiate it. I don't think it will be worth them spending money like that to keep the game off of other platforms. Because that's essentially what it would come down to. You're going to renegotiate, they're going to need to pay up for that.
Isn't that the same reason that basically they didn't cancel the contracts for Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo, because it would just cost too much money to void the contract or end the contract to get it exclusive? So at that point, it's whatever.
That's different because PlayStation paid extra. They paid an amount of money to have it exclusive. The LucasArts deal is just an IP.
Yeah, but again, as you're a lawyer, there's always things in contracts where you can get out of it, and usually it's like a big penalty. Like, I would imagine if Microsoft really wanted Deathloop not to be on PlayStation, to be exclusive to Xbox, there would be a way to do that where they cancel it. They got to pay back a bunch of money plus probably a penalty fee on top of it, because Sony's going to want... Is
there a penalty fee, guys?
Well, it depends on the contract.
Or they have to buy PlayStation out of it?
The termination clauses, they're contingent on anything, and everything has a price. And it may not have been worth even bother exploring. They might just look at the contract and, all right, well, we're contractually bound here. What's the value proposition in us paying a premium to PlayStation to sever this contract? And it just may not be worth it. And it doesn't matter. We just let them have it. We have Game Pass, and we can switch that round. This is a massive unknown. Whether Sony on the driving seat now, they were like, all right, pay us X number of premium for breaking it. I don't know what the form of these contracts take as well. It's massively complicated. We have to have insight into the contract. So it's a lot of guesswork on our part, and you can look at company attitudes as a thing. But contracts are a whole different beast, man. They can be intricate beasts. I've seen some high-level contracts that have been woefully drafted. Their termination clauses are so simple. So it's really like asking me how long is a piece of string. It's really, I can't.
Yeah, you're not going to get like a woefully drafted contract from Disney, though. You're not.
Yeah.
It's going to be watertight, right?
Yeah, actually, their lawyers get paid a lot, I'm sure. Yeah, they'll. Yeah. I'd love to see those contracts, mostly because I see the length of those contracts. And I'm like, yeah, I should have not become a lawyer. Maybe.
I mean, hey, Scarlett Johansson's suing Disney right now, right?
She?
Yeah.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
sues. Yeah.
Why?
Because they put Black Widow on streaming, and she said that affected her payout, so she would have made more money, and it was a whole contractual thing. So so they're going to court, right, Asa?
Ooh.
Yeah, Disney are countersuing her, I think. Yeah, some mess along those lines. But
And that's how we get paid. Yeah. Speaking of which, Victor Alistine, thanks so much for the $5 super chat. Goes, would you guys be interested in Microsoft getting in the movie industry? No. By buying the whole of Warner Brothers would certainly boost subs and help in some way. I don't care Victor, about Microsoft's profitability. No, who cares about movies?
Sony bought Crunchyroll, and there's talk that they're going to take the Crunchyroll sub and put it into a more expensive version of PlayStation Plus. Maybe even put Sony's own movies into it, and then you would have a sub of PlayStation Plus, PlayStation Collection, anime, movies.
You mean a tier?
Yeah, like a more expensive tier to, Jim Ryan's talked about an answer to Game Pass at some point, right? What if their answer is just like games, anime, and movies, right?
Yeah.
Where you get access to all these different things, and maybe that's the future.
Okay, Victor, I take it back. You're onto something now. Yeah, I like that.
I'll tell you what the future is.
Tell me.
As Rand says, the future is consuming your media however you want, even if that means you don't own them. You just stream them or you download them via a monthly subscription fee. I think that's the people who are out there capping and saying that they're a man because they buy their games and they own them, but yet they don't own any more music and they watch all their TV shows and their movies all on a streaming service, and we're watching movies at home. It's like things have changed. I don't use CDs anymore. I can't stand them. But I feel like I'm paying for Spotify now, and I feel like I kind of own those songs. They just keep paying, and I can access them at will whenever I want. And be able to access something at will has changed the way we look at how we're entertained. We as a society demand that we watch our stuff on demand, right? Like you never sit down and say, "Oh, I got to get home by 7:00 tonight because Urkel's on and I got to watch it." Like, no,
I kind of miss that, but yeah.
I mean, it used to be part of our culture. Now
I used to rush from school. That was crazy.
Yeah, we watch it on demand. We're gonna watch Loki tonight. We're all gonna sit down and watch it when we get around to it. And with your games, I think it's amazing that Game Pass has this 300 or 450 games, and you just pick one and you install it and you play the heck out of it until it leaves the service or all the first party stuff stays forever. So the people who are like, I'm a man because I buy my games and I support the devs, you're so out of touch and archaic in the old ways. Buckle up, because like Rand said, it is going to disrupt the industry. It disrupts the industry in such a great way that this is, like Phil said, like, you should be able to play your games wherever you want. If you bought a game, you should be able to play it somewhere, within the ecosystem. So yeah, it's changed.
After that, it's not even downloading and just streaming it. It's forward facing.
It's going to happen. It may take 5 years from now, and 5 years doesn't seem like a lot of time, but things build exponentially and improve exponentially, that I bet you in 5 years from now, a lot of us would be able to stream a game on our TV through the Xbox app and be able to tell most people, you forget you're streaming it. And once you get to that point, you'll be able to just stream your games, and people will stop complaining. Just stop whining.
Stop whining. stop whining.
Stop holding back. This is from the great Bill Stillwell, who has worked at Xbox and now he works for Microsoft at HoloLens. And he told me, he corrected me, and he said, because I don't care for VR, and he's like, Colt, don't stop the advancement of technology. Don't gatekeep it. Allow it to. It's people when they try stuff out and they let these developers create something great that you can move forward and get out of the way things always are. It's a lesson to learn for sure.
Absolutely. Hoggy Channy, thanks so much for $5 super checkers. Can you do a poll, Asa, to see how many people would pay for PS Plus to add anime? Maybe $120 a year instead of $60. Well, that's a doubling of
Jeez,
price.
how many more topics do you got, Gaz? You got the Grand Theft Auto remasters in there?
Oh gosh, you
I
already did it.
don't.
I wanted to see the poll of how many people would like bet their wallet on Indiana Jones being multiplat or not. Because I have a feeling that people, if they really think about it, they might be split down the middle. I don't know.
That would have been a good poll to do. Whether that was going to be, I think, but I think we need to wrap up the show. We've 2.5 hours. Jeez. Although that's Rand time. That's Xbox 2 times. You have good stamina, Rand.
We could go for another hour. Let's go.
Yeah, I could go. I was going to ask about the Stream Deck. Phil Spencer praised the Stream Deck.
Steam.
Steam. Oh my god.
Horrible name.
Change that name.
I'm confused.
I'm confused. But he said, was that Valve Software this week, talking with blah, blah, blah. After having mine most of the week, I can say it's a really nice device. Games with me on the go, screen size controls are all great. Playing Halo and Age, assume of Empires, feels good. xCloud works well.
Is this your best Phil Spencer voice?
I wouldn't dare do sacrilege and copy Phil Spencer's voice. Are you mad? Actually, it's just a very calm way of talking. I can't replicate it. But yeah, what is it? So xCloud works on Steam Deck. Game Pass. Do we see Game Pass coming on there? I don't know if that's gonna happen. But generally, he's quite positive about it. Rand, since you're asking the prediction questions, do you see Game Pass on Steam Deck?
Like natively?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like Phil's tweet, when he talks about that, it makes me wonder if it's already built in natively, because he said xCloud works well on there, and is already built in. Like, why else would he really tweet that? Because, Phil's sly when it comes to that, right? He had the Kojima Lumens logo next to the Xbox thing, even though he swears he doesn't, put his shelf a certain way.
Sure, Phil.
I think Game Pass should come to Steam. I don't think people are going to care about the Windows 10 store, no matter how they try to make it better. So if they want to hit their goals, I think you're going to need to cut a deal with Steam, whether to release the full-on Xbox Game Pass with third-party games, or just release a curated, here's Game Pass, but it's just our first-party Xbox Game Studios titles in Bethesda. I don't know. I think something like that's more possible than Game Pass on Switch or PlayStation.
Definitely more. The hardware's better built for that anyway. What about you, Colt? Do you think that's happening? That'd be big for Game Pass and Steam Deck.
I mean, it's already kind of possible, or it's people know that you can do this, that you can bring Xbox to the Steam Deck, but Rand and I are like totally in the I don't need to play my games on the go when I'm out and around, so
and Asa's the same.
Yeah, like it's not happening for me, but
I would do it.
I'm in the camp where I didn't want Xbox to build a handheld. I don't think they need to, and they need to concentrate on getting their console perfected. Series X is almost this does almost everything better, but it does have some problems with the DVR and a couple other things that need to be fixed. Yeah,
how's that
it's really bad.
So long? Microsoft.
There's something wrong. There's something wrong. I don't know what they did, but it ran so much better on the last console, so it's not like a power problem. There's something that's just not right, and they haven't fixed it yet. So, as far as the Steam Deck, obviously, I think Phil is going to use it as leverage, as another way to get people on on and in the platform and playing. And great, good. Do it on Steam's dime. It's good.
Yeah. What about you, Asa? The emails between the Epic lawsuit with Apple, they were quite telling with the email exchanges with Phil, and I don't know who that was. And they were like, look, we'll try and get to as many devices as possible. We're really trying. Surely it's on his agenda to get that working on Steam Deck. That's
working is one
priority.
thing. Yeah, I think more interesting is whether, like Rand was saying, whether Game Pass will go to Steam. So a few months ago, I was pretty convinced that it would. I figured EA have already laid the groundwork for a subscription service. And then you had the immediately before Steam Deck was announced, you had Phil's comments kind of condemning it indirectly, directly, bit strange. And then I started to look at the other subscriptions like services that are around, and you consider that EA haven't put their premium service on there. They've put their cutback service on there, and Ubisoft haven't put their service on there. And you wonder what Valve are asking, and whether there is. I'm sure that Microsoft want it, and I'm sure that Valve can accommodate it. I'm not sure they're meeting on the terms right now, so I don't know if it's going to happen or what it will look like. But yeah, I mean, as a device, it's as people say for the Switch, it's a natural fit for it. It'd be great for people, just whether the terms are right for the companies involved.
Yeah, that would be quite interesting. I don't know what those terms would be, because it's a big move.
It's complicated because of the overlap in library. So it's not just like Steam taking their 30%. It's this massive overlap. If you're playing a game on Game Pass that is also available to buy on Steam, then it just gets a little bit messy.
Yeah, definitely. Notrama, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. He goes, will Microsoft do to Indiana Jones what they are doing with Psychonauts? Next gen only on Xbox. Credit to MK.
Psychonauts doesn't have the PlayStation 5 version. They're saying like just screw over the PlayStation 5 owners, which isn't to say that that's what Tim Schafer and Double Fine are doing deliberately, but that game started as a multi-platform game, and we all know, in fact, it comes on to, we haven't spoken about Ninja Theory, and I probably don't think we should at this point, but there's a lot of complaining that Hellblade doesn't have a PlayStation 5 enhancement patch like it did for the Series X, but you have to consider it's hard work to make a PlayStation 5 enhancement patch. You have to do a full native build. So yes, you can't expect Microsoft to do that. I don't think they're going to be petty and try and hurt the PlayStation 5 owners with Indiana Jones either. But
no, I mean it's a next gen only game when it releases. So the problem with Psychonauts is it's truly an Xbox One, PS4 era game. So it gets a Gen 9 aware, right, Rand? That's pretty much how it works.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then they were not in the contract to do the extra work to get it like a PS5 version in the Kickstarter.
Double Fine through the kickback, or I think it was on Fig. They only promised a PS4 version, PS4, Xbox One, PC version, and that's what they delivered. But obviously, being bought by Microsoft, they got the extra time or whatever to make a Series X and Series S version, but no PS5 version. It is what it is. So.
Yeah. Particularly with the Hellblade example, though, you will have people on the Sony side saying like, "Oh, Microsoft are not consumer friendly here. This is their fault." And that's not fair either, because we know that Sony make it hard. We know that their cross-gen platform isn't as well developed. So why should Microsoft go that extra mile and make a native PlayStation 5 game?
You could also say, Asa, if Sony were to ever make a Sunset Overdrive remaster, would it come to Xbox or would it be only on PlayStation? Because at the end of the day, Sony owns Sunset Overdrive IP, just like Microsoft owns the Hellblade IP. So, if Sony ever did a Sunset Overdrive remaster, I wouldn't expect it on Xbox. Would any of you?
Hell no, not Sony.
No.
Sony's a different beast, though, isn't it? Sony doesn't give a damn about itself. So.
Well, like you said, Sunset Overdrive is owned by Insomniac, so there's no way it would come to Xbox. A sequel or a remaster.
Like.
Well, if Sony added content to MLB The Show, I'd expect that to come to Xbox. I don't know. That's like a silly like for like, but
yeah,
generally,
nah.
Yeah, I'm
Did you see MLB The Show? How well it's selling, despite it being on Game Pass? Did you see all that?
Yeah,
second best selling game of the year, but despite it being given away for free on Game Pass, how's that even possible?
Did you see how they word it? This is part of when I said earlier that if Sony were asked about trying to make Xbox games and they'd refused to answer, the Sony financial report won't say Xbox. So it says in there like, we released MLB The Show on a different platform. It wasn't the PC, but it wasn't the PlayStation either, but it was something else, and it did all right. And they just won't say Xbox anywhere through their company, and it's really funny to me.
Yeah. That's. Don't know why they're so ashamed of that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is a new record. 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours, and we could go on for a long time, but I think it's a good time to wrap it up. It's been a very, very good, interesting conversation. It's really good to have you on, Rand. Like,
It's
I
good
think
to be
you
on.
took control.
Good to be on, guys. It's my first time talking with Asa, so.
Is it? Oh, okay, that's
because
that's
he doesn't join the
an
parties
honor
like
for
you
you.
do.
He doesn't join. He's just too busy playing Outriders, whatever the hell he's playing right now. What are you playing now? I should be watching.
Play loads of
this.
stuff around. I would join your parties all the time, but I'm constantly streaming, so it wouldn't be fair. I never join a party without warning people that they're live on the internet.
Oh yeah,
It might say something crazy.
Yeah, like. But yeah, but thank you so much, Rand. Thank you so much for joining us, man. It was effortless conversation because we talk like this all the time. Sometimes I wish our party chats were streamed because we have some pretty heated things. But it's good to have you on, man. I hope we can have you on again, and with Jez as well. That'd be wicked. There's the power
Ooh, an
duo.
Xbox 2 Go Live crossover?
That'd be like Vegeta and Goku doing a sick little fusion dance. But yeah, man.
You and
I
your
hope you had a
anime
good time.
references, man. I don't get it.
Hey man, the PlayStation guys hate me because they think I hate anime, even though I'm subscribed to Crunchyroll. Rand, thank you so much. Everyone probably knows where you guys are, they can find you. But tell our viewers what's in store for Rand Thorites. I don't know what you call your fan.
The Randall Thorites. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I make videos whenever there's something I feel like I want to talk about. I have a couple ideas for some stuff. So, we'll see about this week. We always do Xbox 2 with Jez on Friday or Saturday. So, if you want to stop by the channel, subscribe. It's youtube.com/RandallThor19. But thanks for having me on, guys. It was a wonderful discussion with you, Asa, and the one and only Colt Fraudwood.
Hey! Colt Beastwood.
More like Colt. I'm taking your face.
Gaz!
I'm messing with you, man. Lost my silent unleashed Colt. I love you, man. Honestly, I wish should we make you a regular here? But then your wife would kill you. You could have 2 shows. You'd never see you ever again. Saturdays and Mondays. I hope you had a great time, man.
I can only sit and smile on a camera for so long.
You're like, who's
Yeah.
gonna call me straight after this game? Like, I love this. I love this thing. I'm sorry, Asa. This thing is gonna be the bane of your life. But Colt, you did an incredible video on Forza, which got shouted out by Playground Game. No, Fable.
Senior game developer for Playground Games, yeah.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah, it's the game looks so good. It looks so good. So yeah, people are excited. Yeah.
What's in store for your fans, though? What's in store for people like me who've been subscribed for years? What are you gonna show us?
Oh yeah, I've got a developer on Monday.
Woo!
coming on to the show. So hopefully I can get some tidbits from her. That's pretty cool. So yeah, that'll be really good. And then of course, Rand and I will probably be making our own respective videos talking about QuakeCon and Gamescom. Maybe that's probably some stuff to talk about, but it's been really quiet this summer, and we had all this goodness of the consoles and the E3 stuff, and now like all the games are just coming. Like now we just sit here and every week or every 2 weeks a new game comes out on Xbox. So now it's time to just play games. Rand and I are getting on party chat, trying to wake up Gaz, because of the time shift. It's like midnight for us, and it's like we message Gaz. It's like 6 a.m. Gaz, get out of bed. We're gonna get in the party chat and play some games. You're like, I gotta have a crumpet.
A crumpet? I've never had a crumpet.
I know.
No, but
So,
I can't wait to look forward to your content, man.
Yeah, it's been really fun, and I've been playing Art of Rally, Hades, and something else. But oh, I'm gonna play Grounded with my kids when we get done with this show. We got to build like our mansion. Got this cool mansion. It's been great. But yeah, thanks for having me on the show. And I talk to you guys every day, like Asa, as much as we can. But I'm talking to Gaz and Rand. I bother them way too much. They're gonna block me.
Bother us.
Yeah.
We do the same. We share dank memes. That's all we do. We're so immature. Your wife must think we're just so sad. But yeah, man.
I do like to take a picture of Rand and precariously put it on a character from a TV show or something, and then share it with Gaz for a laugh. That's what I do.
And Rand, you asked me, Gaz, why did you make memes? Do you not like me? No, man.
You freaking love Rand.
That's why, man. We've got memes of me and Colt doing.
I did a meme of Rand as James Hetfield from Metallica, because Rand's been growing his hair out, and so I made him into this freaking rock star. We have so much fun.
We did. And shout out to the chat, everyone.
I'm gonna hit you.
All of you guys.
Delete that immediately.
Oh man, we have a lot of memes.
Do it, Rand. I'm gonna hit you. Do it.
No. I'm gonna let the chat not know what you're talking about, so they can. I'm not gonna expand upon that whatsoever.
Yep.
We're very immature. That's all you need to know, chat. But thank you, chat, for coming on. You honestly smashed it, and killing it as always. Asa, tell us what's in store. I'm seeing you tomorrow in real life. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, you might want to hide that stupid little auto-tune box of yours, but yeah, that's what's in store. We're going to be going there. We're going to make some memes and sort some things out. Yeah, I'm going to be playing games all week on my Twitch channel like I always do, and I'm going to take a bit of time off of that, and I'm going to jump in a party with these guys as well, because I do want to play some games.
Yeah!
Besides that, yeah, no, great to meet you, Rand. Great as always, Colt. We always have a good chat on here, and everyone, loads of people came up talking to us, so thanks for that. And I'm not going to round it off now. I'll go back over to you, Gaz, in case you've got anything else to auto-tune. Don't auto-tune. Say.
Do
it!
I won't do it. I won't do it.
Do it one more time for the end of the show.
All right. Well, I'm going to auto-tune the outro.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey everyone, welcome to Go Live.
Feel Dominos, Maximus, Aurelius, Spencer.
That I love playing games, but I'm also a massive nerd when it comes to the tech. Someone at Sony that remembers that is going to drive a lorry through the wall and say, hey everybody, PlayStation's at E3, we don't hate our fans, let's go, and put on their own show.
On their own show.
Is that wild enough?
Welcome to Versus. In this series, two contestants go head-to-head in a battle to the death. In this episode, we have two...
But we're confident, we're the Master Chief. Ish. I'm dead.
times.
Did you get into the beta for the PlayStation SSD? Oh my! Yo, stop it! I mean, because you didn't get in the beta for the Halo, so maybe you got in the beta for the SSD.
I'm not interested in breaking my.
I could.